Hello. What ho? Welcome back to another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley. Trying something out here while I am trucking. I saw Ali B do this, and I think he was able to get people, because I came into his chat, and so I'm going to try to see how I can invite a guest. Copy to the clipboard, so then if I go over to YouTube's, and I open up my do until somebody joins and just find out what to say. So, yeah. So let's see. It's Friday, and let's see. Oh, I've been working a route that gets me home at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and then I'm just shot for the rest of the day until I got to get up and go back to work. So, not really excited about the schedule itself because I haven't had time to do the stuff that I want to do in terms of getting back into editing and putting stuff out. But the money is good. So the money's good, but the slavery is not. So that's what that is. And let's see. SE is, I don't know, join link. Jump in here, man, if that's you. Because I don't know if this is giving me live updates in terms of who's out there. So many times I have things in my head that I want to go live, and then I don't have the time to do it. Now that I am live, I can't think about what to say. So if you are out there, anybody, just type in the chat, because I want to see if something comes up in the Streamlabs that's on my screen right now. I think it gives me updates in terms of who's making comments. It looks like SE made one. Looks like we've got 3 viewers out there, so just type in the chat, say hi. And if you want to join the panel, which would absolutely save the show, then join the panel, and we can have a conversation and see where that goes. All right, so I just got a notification. Got a guest. Oops. So what's going on, Brandon? Jimbo? SE, it says that you're here, but I don't hear you, so... Let's see. SE. Add to the screen. How about that? There we go.
Mic check.
I figured it out. Hey. What's going on, SE?
All right, Travis, how's it going, man?
Not too much. Just started my day a little under an hour ago after my premiere stream with the Southern Cross. So that was playing while I was driving to work, and then I jumped in my truck and started my day. So what about you? What are you up to?
Oh, I was busy today, this morning. Now I got a little bit of free time.
Yeah. Good. So I think go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say I jumped into Jose, into the chat just a little bit while I was doing the video for the Southern Cross, and I think I saw you in there. So was it a pretty good show? It didn't seem like there was a flat earther on the panel.
Yeah, Chris was on. I missed most of it, to be honest with you. I got in a little at the end. I was dying to say something, but I was too late. They were talking about the Coriolis, so you can imagine.
Yeah, the Coriolis that's not a force, that is a visual observation. So
I'm so glad you named it that way, because that's what I'm that's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Just say visual effect.
yeah, it's a visual effect. Yeah,
That's what it is.
It's an apparent deflection. It's something that you see. It's like a mirage, right? You see it. It's what appears in front of your eyes, but you have to properly interpret the data. So if you are trying to think, right? If you are on the reference frame and you throw a ball, again, if you're on a merry-go-round, because that's the go-to demonstration of this, so-called phenomenon. If you're on the reference frame and you throw an object away from you, you have an apparent deflection. It looks as though what you threw deflected in a direction that gives it an arc. But if you're off the reference frame, if you're looking at it as a bystander from up above or from the side, you see it as it actually is. There's no deflection. There's no physical contact. There's no physical, like the ball that gets thrown off doesn't create something physically by its motion. It's all visual.
Correct. The ball, as you say, continues to travel in a straight motion, but it appears to the person on the moving reference frame that the ball is moving, but the ball is actually traveling in a straight line. Correct. Very well said. I mean, a kid could understand that.
Hey, guys.
You should have heard them today. I was dying to get in, but I just couldn't make it. I couldn't devote like 10, 20 minutes, you know? It was a shame.
Yeah,
Hey,
Jimbo,
Brandon.
Jimbo, if you want to join back in, I don't know if I kicked you by accident. I was trying to join, let you join the call. So, Jimbo, if you want to come back in, go ahead. What's going on, Brandon?
What's going on? I heard you guys talking about Jose's today. It was an epic disaster for the ball. It wasn't just Coriolis. Chris came on there, and he kind of launched off of a variation of my 3 questions for ballers about flight with a north-south flight. And he talked about the differences in the density of air and how the plane is affected by the density of the air and how it gains the momentum as it goes south. The ballers literally have no answer. They gave 5 or 6 different answers. Blue, Bob, a whole bunch of people. Al K tried, Negator jumped in. They're done, dude. It was epic.
Yeah. There's no way around this. I've had this conversation with them so many times, Brandon. I was dying to get in today, but I couldn't. I just made it near the tail end. It's incredible how they ascribe all these magical forces, how the plane has to accelerate, decelerate to combat a visual effect. I mean, it's sheer fantasy.
Yeah, and they've got no good answer for it. And really, if you think about it, in reality, on their ball, it wouldn't be a visual effect. You literally have to catch up to the Earth as you go south in order to hit the destination where you went. You need to gain momentum somehow. And they can't decide how it is you gain momentum. They go from saying, well, the atmosphere is attached to the Earth, it all rotates together, to the engine does it, to the wind doesn't affect you that much. They've just got all these different answers that don't make any sense.
Well, I think the one thing that we need to press them on that would take a lot of time, but it's citations for their explanation. So they can, like you said, Brandon, they had 5 different people giving explanations. Okay, so which of those is documented? Which of those that they are spitting out is actually scientific record of what has been measured, what has been observed, what has been manipulated, what has been tested? None of it. Like Rumpus the other day on Ranties, when he was talking about the difference in weight with something that goes up to the Eiffel Tower. He says, "Oh, they did this with the Eiffel Tower," and then I don't know if it was me or if somebody else called him out and said, "Where's the citation for that?" He goes, "Well, I don't know if they did it on the Eiffel Tower." I'm like, "Oh, ho, ho, hey, well, then shut up, because all you're doing is puking all over this conversation with something that you have justification for. You've just lost all credibility." So you've got 5 different opinions, Brandon, like you said. 5 different opinions on trying to explain how it happens. All you do is say, okay, let's just stop this. Okay, which of you would like to produce any citation that can back up what you're saying? We'll wait. We'll have dead air until you come up with it. Come on.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way they could pull something out of their ass. They just point back to the model and say, the atmosphere rotates with the Earth. It's just like being on the ground in their model. Or, you know what it functions like? As if the Earth isn't rotating. It functions exactly like the Earth isn't rotating and is not a sphere.
Funny
Right.
that, eh?
Right. So that, yeah. So that goes back all the way back to 2017 when I was new into this and I was coming up with all of these conceptual responses. And you know you're spinning because you can't feel the spin. That's the evidence. That's the proof you're spinning.
That's exactly
Yeah, but
it.
you know, you
Yep.
can't trust your senses, Travis. I mean, what's wrong with you, dude? Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But it's funny, man. Yeah, you should listen to it. I'm gonna put out a video and kind of talk about it later tonight as soon as Jose uploads it, because there was just so much in there, man. And it's already on top of, me bashing Bob for an hour and a half and all this other stuff. This is a really weak spot for them.
Most definitely. One of their weakest arguments. I mean, it's so obvious to show and to debunk. I mean, if the Earth is turning, right, there should be a deflection. Anything you throw up in the air should deflect, should appear to be curving, just like on a merry-go-round. Oh, yeah, but we're only traveling 1 revolution per day. Okay, let's go to the equator. How fast is that moving? Right? Then
Yeah,
they go,
exactly.
well, but the atmosphere is attached. Well, then you have no Coriolis, sir.
Yeah, they just can't get out. It's total catch-22 for them, and they just don't know how to deal with it. So they very quickly go to the insults.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But anyway, hey, Travis, I wanted to say that video, I think it was yesterday that you played at the beginning of Jose's. That was your disappearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good shit, man.
Yeah, I wanted to be there I crashed when I got home from my schedule. I'm getting home at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I've just got to get enough rest to get back up and do it all again. And I was asleep. And so I'm sorry that I missed out on it. But I tried to just say at the beginning, and I'm pretty sure it came across like, look, I'm not trying to lead you guys down a road. What do you see? What is it that you're seeing here? How would you explain this? And part of the diagnosis for me gets into where if you're following that ether band visual across the sky, you've got that black strip of cloud, smoke, whatever the hell you think that is. Well, when you follow it left to right, it disappears. And then it starts back up again. So please, Mr. Andrew Thomas Young, who tells me about temperature gradients and inversion gradients and all this shit, tell me what's happening between the visual aether band that you can see, and then it disappears, and then it comes back. What's happening in that spot where it disappears? Can you tell me? No. You got no smurfing clue. None. Absolutely none. I think that video, Essie, that you were in the original audience with Danielle and Aaron that day we were watching that video, as a matter of fact, Andrew Thomas Young doesn't know what to do with that video. I showed it to him, sent it to him. He's like, that is really good stuff. I have no idea what's going on. Like, really?
No shit.
No
Wow.
kidding. No shit, Sherlock. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean it's not standard anymore? What are they going to come up with next? The unstandard refraction. How
Well,
about that?
you'd have to have the invisible band inversion temperature gradient, right? You got to label it something like it disappears. So the disappearing inversion gradient, what right there at that moment, a burst of, I don't even know, man. What are you gonna say? A burst of cold air came in from the Arctic. You know what I mean? Like, how did it change that dynamic? What was going on? And,
I have
and
an
what,
idea. Let's call it the ether band. How about that?
I like that idea. Yeah, that's a good one.
Let them stew on that one.
SE came up with a new term. SE's term, the ether band. Good job, SE.
Thank you. First time you heard it here. Thank you. Thank you.
oh, I'm gonna try to get Jimbo in here. Hey, Jimbo.
Hello, everybody.
I don't think I've ever heard you talk, man.
Well, I haven't been on for literally a couple of years.
Okay. Well, then, thanks for breaking the ice with me. Welcome to the show.
Well, you're one of the more coherent people out there, so it's sort of nice to deal with people who don't just talk, they actually listen.
Wait a minute,
You know?
wait a minute. I recognize your voice now, man. You
Really?
I do too.
Aren't you Storm?
No.
Wow, you guys sound exactly. Essie, I think you were on the show when we had Storm on. He's Canadian. Jimbo, you're Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you totally sound like the. You totally sound like this guy named Storm that came on. He was a good guy. We had a good show with him on. Anyway, welcome to the show. You guys carry on. I'm going to go on mute. I'm driving, so whatever. Let me know if you want me to jump in or ask me a question. But you guys carry the show. It's all about you.
Well, me, I've been sitting around trying to interject with the light issue, not even the particle or wave question. It's not really a question, but light, I've been saying it for a couple of years now. No one's looked into it, but it's a well-known process. Light is generated by a process called atomic absorption, which is the first phase, followed by a secondary emission, which is the light itself. Light needs matter to be created. When Michelson and Morley did their experiment, who brought the light? People say, oh, light's traveling forever. It don't. It decays like sound, exponentially, logarithmically.
Yeah. So
I agree with
just
that.
to jump in real quick, I
Otherwise,
showed.
we could put a big light bulb over a city, light it up, and we wouldn't need traffic lights and other stuff. Well, at least lighting anywhere else, right? We need lights every hundreds of feet. In warehouses, every 20, 30 feet, you're going to have lights.
Yeah.
It only works in the magic of the vacuum of space and with these things they call stars.
Well, in the world of physics, light is generated.
Hey,
by
let me
protons.
jump in. Let me jump in real quick. I'm sorry. Somebody's got a watch page open, I think, because I hear background echo, like the show's on the background.
Yeah, I have mine stopped in the background, but that shouldn't. It's dead. Only text going up in the background.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
Somebody.
I don't know who's rushing the wind by your window, maybe.
No.
It's not air around your rig, eh?
No. It's a conversation that I can hear following up, but maybe.
Let me turn off the page, the YouTube page. See if that helps.
really didn't, eh? But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
like
don't
I'm
hear
saying,
anything actually.
light, it's been used in laboratories, the atomic spectrum of chemical elements. Just in organics, you have over 24 million naturally occurring substances, and they can all be identified by a color pattern, a rainbow that they give off when you expose them to, well, a specific frequency of light. The light goes through a prism, but before it goes through the prism, there's a thing called a beam chopper, because the light to be generated or these things to be excited, they have to have an interval of no excitement to give off the light. When the material is hit by the light stream, it excites molecules, or the molecules,
And the beam chopper cuts the ray of light and allows the molecule to decay. When it decays and it goes back to its normal energy level, a light pattern is given off, very specific to the chemical that you're analyzing. It's very, very specific. Now,
So let me ask you a real quick question. Is beam chopper a technical term? Because it sounds a little bit.
It's a physical rod that's on a mortar, pierced through the middle, that actually spins and cuts the beam of light. And it can be adjusted for its speed. It's literally like a propeller, like a bar that's on a shaft, on a mortar, that spins. And every time it comes up and it interferes with the beam of light, it cuts it off.
It functions almost like a strobe light.
Well, without necessarily strobing, it's called the beam chopper. It's just to cut off the energy to the sample so that it has time to decay and give off light. If you didn't have that interval, you couldn't get your pattern. You couldn't get a spectrum. But light is well understood. It's generated locally, it's generated by a process, and it takes matter to create light. So when I say locally, not 93 million miles away, maybe a few thousand for what's above us. I don't know. But it certainly isn't 93 million miles.
Yeah, it seems to me, as we continue to talk through all of these different facets of physics, that what we experience on a local level completely disintegrates when you go outside of our system. When you go into outer space, you have to create a story that doesn't match up with what we know on the micro level.
The Globers try to take the science of spectroscopy to the stars. That's nonsense. The conditions are so controlled on Earth and so local for people to work with that it works here. But you can't look up through whatever and look at something miles away and say because it's a certain color spectrum that it's A, B, or C. That's ridiculous. It's nonsense.
You mean to tell me that something might interfere between you and the object 93 million miles away?
Do you have anything that you can link in for the show at all? Put it in the chat and just...
No, the atomic absorption and stuff, really everyone's kind of focused on fluid dynamics now, and that's going to be the trip. So I don't even bother. Can you see? A few of the people with channels and with brains should be looking into AA, and even Nathan Oakley. I've been spitting out AA and how light is made for 2 years now. Not one of them, not QE, no one wants to talk about the reality of light, how it's generated locally. You got this little underwater crayfish that can make light, luminescent light underwater with the sonoluminescence. When it snaps its pincher shut, it creates a ball of light. But there's matter involved, there's water, there's physics. In all instances, we need substance, we need matter and energy to create light. You don't pull light out of Aspen, Colorado.
What does that mean? Is that a reference that we should get?
Well, it's funny too, because again, all this Coriolis nonsense. A few years back, I had been showing Edward Sarkassian. He's a gunaholic. He loves weapons and firearms and other stuff, and he does some foolish things that I would do too. But he takes a .5 caliber and fires it straight into the air, straight up. Now the hang time is 1 minute and 50 seconds, and the bullet lands basically, within 50 yards of him. And if, say he were at the equator and he shot up like that, in 1 minute, 50 seconds, I guess there'd be some 36 miles moved underneath him, or 32 miles. If I shot the same shot at, the latitude I am here, if someone 16 miles away should have a bullet in the head.
Yeah, and if you trained your assassin correctly, you could assassinate a prime minister from 36 miles away.
At the equator, yeah. Another thing is like on Facebook, there's a couple, a guy and a lady named Sam, who's a spotter, who do like 4,000 meter plus shots with all kinds of specialized rifles and rounds. And guess what? They never, ever, 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 did I mention ever, calculate Coriolis? They calculate air temperature, wind, pressures, but never Coriolis. And they have a beautiful stuff even on YouTube of them shooting 4,000 yards plus and hitting the target without Coriolis calculation or even talking about it.
Well, that's because obviously the Earth, even though it's spinning, it basically behaves in a way as though it appears that it's motionless. So there you go.
Yeah, because like when I grew up, we shot it with sort of point and shoot, more or less. I don't think ever, any of my uncles, anyone who hunts has ever said, "Hey, there's a deer. Calculate the Coriolis for me. Let me break out the calculator."
Yeah. So that I think I've thought about this before. If you are going to be doing long range sniping horizontally, and Coriolis does affect that according to their narrative, right? It does. There's a deflection, not an apparent deflection, but a physical one. Then if you fire that round up into the air, I don't think you can escape the same logical conclusion.
Well, then they use it conserves its momentum and energy. Bullshit. That's just a sort of ignorant dismissal. Absolute ignorance.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. That's what I've said from the beginning, is that what we know and experience on a micro level, when we then talk about the great scale negator, the Earth is just so big that it changes physics, then it's no longer an empirical observation, but a creative explanation for why we don't experience on a greater scale what we know should happen because of our experience on a smaller scale. So once you move outside of that proximate empirical data that you can test for yourself locally, once you move away from that, the only thing you have is how creative your mind is.
Well, I think part of the reason that sort of like New Age cult and space and all this stuff is a reality for so many people, it's so conditioned in, it's so much investment in the what they consider knowledge, that it's an absolute shock to the system to let anything even come close to challenging it, whether it be moonwalks, satellites, anything that there's a belief in. It's a bad situation. And part of it is having a duality in everything, up is down, black is white. They want to make bent is curve now because it goes along with, nothing is as it really seems. And that's, already a philosophy some people have with this, we're in a matrix type of nonsense. The truth is, we're in a creation, a very big one. You can't have a big bang where nothing explodes and everything becomes real from nothing. It's just such a ridiculous story.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about that, once you break down a person's ability to remain logical, sensible, and empirical, you can basically tell them anything. I mean, if you start with a Big Bang explanation that something comes from nothing, we all understand and know that that's not what we experience. And so then we have to just shrug our shoulders and go, I don't get it, but okay.
And then there's so much garbage story that follows it. All conjecture, every inch, every word, every line. You know, everything after the Big Bang pretty much is a lie, from the astronomy and cosmology to geology and other physical sciences that we claim to have and no one understand. You know, we've developed concepts to use, say, forces like electricity and stuff, but it doesn't really mean we know what we're talking about or dealing with, you know? And again, like I say, just the concept, once it sinks in to how light can only be generated locally and how it takes material, matter, and energy to produce light, then you'll be somewhere else in your thought processes. You know, I say the same thing. You don't move through time. Time moves through you. You know, time is different for all of us. We're each in our own separate time. When we look out at a horizon, we're seeing the past. When you look at your cup of coffee on the table in front of you, it's a slight delay, but you're looking at it in the past. You really don't see the present because the present is in you, not in things around you. You are not in the present. The present is in you.
Yeah, that's
past.
yeah. I mean, but even that's crossing over into the philosophical metaphysics.
It's not philosophical. The fact is, we see the past with our eyes. We do not see the present. We see the secondary emission that comes in and produces a scene, and it's after the fact. By the time it hits our retinas, is processed and hits the brain, it's gone. It's a new scene being processed. We cannot see the present.
All right, we got a party going on. Everybody, I'm sorry.
Hi,
everybody, check your mics.
Hello, Randy. Hey, good to see you and good to hear from you.
One, two.
I'm quickly stopping by just to let you guys know that I'm going to go and do the laser test this evening with Logan's run. So he's made his way back over to Walney. So I'm just preparing now to go down and see if we can get some of this laser test.
Are you going to be live?
No, I'm not going to stream it live. No,
okay.
I'm just going to record it, and then he'll be recording it, and then I suppose he'll send me the files at some point, and we'll get the data back from then. So, good stuff.
Now, but you're doing a show, though, aren't you?
Oh, later on, though. Yeah, not now.
Okay.
Three more hours. 3 more hours after that.
I figured I would try to carry 3 hours, and then when your show came up, I'd end my stream if it went that long.
Best of luck with that, Randy. Best of luck with that, mate.
Cheers, Ali. I'm trying to get the laser light from the side so we can see what it looks like. And
yeah, cool, man.
Yeah, so we'll see anyway. See whether we can get it.
Yeah, we want to see that leapfrogging laser beam.
So do I.
My avatar is a 12-mile shot of my green laser.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A reflector on a tower at Camp La Fortune, and I'm 12.3 miles from it.
How did you take the image? Was it just like that? Did you just snap it, or did you have to do a long exposure for that?
No, it's might be a 2.5 second exposure.
Oh, right, okay, right.
Not so bad. And they come out a bit better at darker when it's more sunset there.
Cool. Right, well, I'm off. I've got to go. Unfortunately, I just thought I'd come in and tell you guys that.
Ranty, before you go, very important. Did you account for the Coriolis effect in your laser experiment?
No, I didn't.
Cheers,
You'll
bro.
be seeing green. Seeing red.
All right, guys, take care. See you in a bit.
Take it easy.
And Ranty just beamed out.
Yeah, I'm driving right now, guys. If you see something going on in the chat, like if someone wants to join, or just let me know because I'm not looking at everything.
But yeah, there's another issue that, I've been trying to say for the longest time. The differences in pressure in the air as you raise in altitude. Well, a large part of that might have to do with water vapor. Warm water and air rises, cools off, condenses, and rains out. There's higher pressure on the ground because there's more water in the air and it's warmer in most places. Well, when it's summer, when it's spring, whatever. These millions and millions, literally cubic miles of water go and change the pressure. The higher
It sounds
goes,
like chemo.
the colder it gets, the more of the water is condensed out, the less air pressure there is. Now think of it. How much does, a gallon of water weigh? It's over 10 pounds, right? Air feels heavy when it's really wet. You boil a pot of water in the kitchen and you walk into the steamy, kind of has some pressure against you. It has weight, has mass. But yeah, as the air gets colder, it can hold less water. Less water in the air, it can exert less pressure. So, you check the temperature and the amount of humidity that air can hold, and you'll see it drops real quick with the temperature. So.
Hey, Jimbo, I've got a question for you. Going back to that light thing, a lot of the science says that when the so-called photon bounces off an object, right, it's the same photon. It's like reflected off it. Do you go with that, or do you go with it's totally different? The object becomes the source.
Different, waves. I don't care if they're waves in water, radio waves, light waves, sound waves. Waves are waves. We know that, okay? Now, waves have special properties, just like on a piano. If you hit two keys that surround a third key, and that third key is resonant with the other two keys you depress, without touching the hammer, it'll vibrate between the two hammers you press and the strings you press.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
not only that process, okay, that's the resonance, and that gives you a trill. Okay, two waves when they interface, two different frequency waves when they interface, they create a different frequency. They blend. They heterodyne.
Are they like spherical then? Do they kind of spray out in like a spherical kind of thing because of the?
If you look at say a piece
the
of
source
wire,
of energy, yeah. But if you get a source of energy, right, and if you put a shot, if you like exploded a bit of dynamite or whatever under the water, if you could put that in slow-mo, you would see the shock wave being a spherical and going out that kind of way. Is that how you would see? Like the waves.
The image they give of electricity and magnetism flowing around a wire.
Yeah.
Waves travel forward through the air, a bit like when they show the model of the heliocentric sun trailing the Earth and moon and planets in tow in the corkscrew. So waves don't move. Sine waves don't necessarily move uniquely north and south, up and down along a horizontal plane.
Yeah, that's the picture that's drawn for us.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
drawn, and it helps to simplify.
What are they waving through in space, though?
I was just going to ask that, SE, because I was going to ask Jimbo, what do you think? Do you think there's an ether?
Well,
or
waves
what's the
are
medium?
Forms of energy.
But what is it? What's it traveling through?
I lost you guys.
Yeah. Well, a wave like energy and potential. You're at the beach and you're up to your hips and there's a foot wave. Hi, we hear you.
Yeah, you're there.
For a few moments. But yeah, the waves in the water, they're not necessarily pushing the water forward. Like you can have a skipping rope with two people and one at each end and send waves through it. Your hand.
Well, here's the thing. What about sound?
Rocker.
What's the medium that it's waving through? Is the question. What is it waving through? Are you talking about an ether? Are you talking about what's the medium?
Now, here's the thing about calling the quote ether.
Check.
I
you guys hear me? Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. The definition of ether has been changed as radically as a straight line being curved as up is down, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get that.
It's been elastic, solid. The ether's been.
It is invisible.
That's spelled different.
And has a lot of energy. Radio waves, other energy waves, they have energy just like the ether did. Invisible energy. So the ether per se is a combination of all the things and properties that we knew are there but couldn't really see. They were like the ether in the lab. Great explosive potential, great use, great potential, but we don't necessarily know what it is, right?
Yeah, but the current understanding
was
is
to cover a whole bunch of waves and other stuff that we didn't really understand enough. We could use some of it, but not enough of it.
Is that
But
just,
isn't
do you
the
think
current?
that's...
Sorry, Ali,
on you go, Essie. No, on you go. I'm mute.
I was just thinking, Ali, that isn't the current understanding of the photon that doesn't need to wave, it has its own energy and it's traveling on its own. Isn't that the current understanding, or am I wrong in this?
Well, here's the thing: you have on Amazon these little glass bulbs with it's almost like a wind vane on it. One of those little spinny things. So there's no air in it, and it has this thing with little foils on it, and
yeah, I see. Yeah, and a certain kind of light makes it turn.
Yes,
I get
exactly.
that.
So I think it's red or purple laser makes that puppy whip around inside its little glass dome. So is it the wave, invisible energy pushing it, or actually something physical interrupting and hitting the surface and giving it a physical push? Or is it warming up and is an expansion of gas on the side that's being hit by the light? Now here again, the heterodyning, the morphing, I call it, the whatever you want. So we have photon collectors, what they call, okay? They produce electricity from the sun, solar cells, okay? So they're taking, in theory, light and turning it into electricity. Well, that's one form. Now, how about light turned into heat on a piece of steel, in the sun, 150 degrees, cook an egg on it?
Yeah, different wavelengths of light, you're saying. Yeah. Different spectrum, let's put it that way.
Radiant energy and how the materials absorb it. The air won't be at 150 degrees when the piece of steel is.
Have you heard of dark material? Dark, what do they call it? Dark
I'll
fabric?
say, like I've always said to PJ, ether, give me a cup of ether, and I'll be happy to chat about it. Dark matter, show me some dark matter. I'll be happy to talk about it. I'm into pure and applied and practical, physical, pure and applied engineering, chemistry, physics. I don't do cosmology bullshit, atomic spectroscopy on stars, which is as retarded as I don't know what to call more retarded. To say that you can look at something in a color spectrum a zillion miles away and say, oh, that's an alcohol gaseous cloud around a nebula containing, Jack Splat.
That's retarded. Yeah.
But that's what they're using it for. They're using a genuine science and method applied here on Earth, pure and applied science that works here, and saying, oh, it works there too. We can look at the sun 93 million miles away and tell you it's composed of A, B, and C.
Well, you can shut that argument down very easily. All you have to do is tell them, okay, you're telling me you know what's coming out of something 93 million miles away, which can absorb, I don't know how many Earths from one end to the other, yet you've only dug 8 miles in your own house.
You have to apply somehow how light is generated through atomic absorption and secondary emission to what is the sun. Because most lights you're going to see, there's only two kinds, a primary light source and a secondary light source. Both the sun and the moon are secondary light sources. Sorry. So the sun doesn't qualify as a primary light source.
Even worse than that, the light that you see, right, apparently is not there. It's happened 8 minutes ago. So you're seeing spent light, in other words.
I have a searchlight.
It's retarded.
But the funny thing,
catches up. Sorry, I was just going to say, Essie, it catches up during the day. Because that was when but there's an answer for that, because if you think about it, if it's because there's a flaw in that when they say that, because I can't remember what the question was, but it was the point is, and the answer was because it would speed up during the day. And it was just like another excuse. So it's quite funny listening to the.
Oh, the light gets excited during the day, and it gets retarded during the night.
I'll give you an example here where it might just be an angular thing too. I have a searchlight. I can give you enough light a mile away for you to read your newspaper. Okay, with my searchlight, my flashlight. Where was I going? I forgot. Give me a minute. I brain farted.
It happens now and again, but the sun's quite fascinating. Now, I was like, there's actually two suns. There's the real sun, and then there's the apparent sun. And the apparent sun is the one that we see, and the real sun is that one you were talking about, SE. That's like
that's the third one, Ali. That's the third one. You're onto something, bro.
There's three suns, man. But it's quite funny when you actually look into, when you. It's only when you ask, that question. Oh, I wonder why that is, and then you go away and you listen to the explanations. Because the good thing about it is, thank you to the internet, you've got some person giving you the mainstream theory, and even if you're slightly aware or at least logically thinking, you're going, you're joking, man, you're making this shit up, and then you find that in the answers, the deeper you go, the answers become more bordering on the ridiculous, because there's no way. And then you find out, that's what I wanted to go back to, what Jimbo said about the sine waves, how it's just a way of man trying to rationalise these things they've got us thinking of balls and stuff like that. But it could be totally, totally different. Actually, what's going on? It's just the way that they've got. They've had to use physical things to describe a metaphysical happening, kind of thing. Because if you look at the sun or the moon or these stupid stars or how we're meant to form this, it can't be explained by the science.
Accretion, they call it.
Yeah, almost like accretion. Yeah, if that's
accretion,
what it does seem more like that when you actually look. Or you can just say, well, they haven't got a clue. But as I say,
if accretion was really a possibility, someone would try playing pool and their cue ball would stick to the pack when they tried to break, right? Usually when two rocks smash into each other, they break up or bounce off each other.
Yeah, and they fly apart and they go all over the place, man. You know what I mean? Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It's sort of, so you're like that, and then if you want to go deeper, you say, right, where did it start, right? Because we know it wasn't from the Big Bang. That's just a stupid case.
how hard it is to finally for people to accept we're on a creation, that this place was created. How? I don't know more than you or anyone else. But
yeah, that's it. And I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll ever. I don't think
maybe we shouldn't know, and it's not possible to know.
Yeah, that's what I think. I go with that. It's not possible. So then I think, then my conspiracy brain kicks in. Then I'm thinking, right, what are these guys doing? What are these experiments, so-called experiments? And who wants to know this stuff? Who wants to know what happens when magnetism gets zapped at someone or a photon?
I'd worry more
who wants to find this out?
Biblical history repeated itself. If it's correct and there were whatever giants, floods and other stuff, a lot was done to make this place safe for us. So my best guess,
it was made just so. Think about it.
A very much larger plane, but we're in a kind of like terrarium area of it, so we're protected from some of these cannibal giants.
Yeah, well, just what SE
out there.
It's more than that, guys. Said. Yeah, it's just so. Yeah, it's just perfect. It's the hunt.
Think of us like a fishbowl and somebody taking care of us. Water, we have heat.
Well, God and His
we have sustenance that grows on its own. Seeds.
You got a filtration system.
Got a filtration system.
All the cures to the ills they ever want by in nature.
Well, there's
all the plants. Bravo, Ali.
I don't want to get any trouble, like being a quote non-professional talking about quote viruses and stuff. And I'm not going to talk about any named viruses, but in general, there are steps to take to test for viruses when someone's sick. Blah blah blah. And believe me, I'm not saying they're accurate. In fact, what I'm going to tell you may surprise you. But one of the things is you grow cultures. You crush up your culture with a mortar and pestle, and you do a gram stain. Now, if you see a coloration of blue, then you're dealing with bacteria. If there's no blue, by default, no test, no further test, you have a virus. Do you see what's wrong? It's a default step over this grand chasm from there was bacteria in this little petri, and we crushed it, and we stained with some iodine, and we didn't see any color come back. Well, did I overcrush it, not leave any cell wall to measure? Because the iodine is measuring the thickness of the cell wall, the cytoplasm of the
Can you repeat the process? You're saying just simple iodine?
Yeah, well, it's an iodine test, tincture of iodine. If the cell wall, in theory, is greater than 5 microns thick, then it's bacteria. If it is less than 5 microns thick, it won't stain. That's the theory. But we don't do the test for the 5 microns. Do you see the problem? By default, if it gram stains negative, then we assume the virus. Assume a virus.
Now, do you need blood or just saliva for this test?
No, you grow cultures. You take samples from anywhere, anything.
Okay.
Nasal cavities, spit, armpits, don't matter where. Skin cells can come from anywhere.
Fascinating.
It's infected.
You can grow them in gel or something, isn't it?
Hey,
I'm
sorry, guys. Let me just jump in real quick. Cleary, you've been trying to join, and I've been giving you access, but then you dropped, so I'm not sure what's going on. In the meantime, thank you, everybody, for being here out there in chat world, and then also everybody here on the panel. We've got Jimbo, S.E., Ali B. I don't think Brandon Toy's here anymore. Did I miss anybody? Who else is here?
S.E., the main man. Come on, Travis. Dear the deal.
No, I said S.E.
Oh, no, my bad.
At least stop talking about yourself, bro. You're the main man here. You have seniority.
Well, actually, I don't, because Jimbo has been around for, as long as I have. I can remember anyway.
Then I bow in both of your presence.
It was nice to hear you talking again.
On the original debates when they first came on, I dumped out of that real quick. Real quick. Had a lot of fun with Pancho Pete and a few other people I really liked and like still, but for the most part, there ain't too much around that, that I don't figure is kind of trolly personages out there, not necessarily out there just for flat earth and interest of, teaching others, educating, whatever. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but I like the way that you put out your and you've been doing it for years anyway, because the times that I've heard you talk, you always give out your theory of how you see it, and it's quite logically thought out, and I agree with quite a lot, especially the light thing, with I was quite interested. I've heard you talking about it now in flat earth data with optics.
I've been trying to get people, especially the ones who have a little more influence over kind of the community in these chats, which are, the FE debates with Nathan Oakley. You think he's going anywhere into atomic absorption and secondary emission and light? No. Particle, wave, split beam, Michelson-Morley. Who brought the light for Michelson-Morley?
Yeah, it's like that Sagnac effect as well, or that experiment. It's the same thing.
Do they even understand in AA that, all these machines have a beam chopper? Stuff like that.
I got that straight away. I got that when you were talking about them. I thought, right, it's like measuring. It was like there was someone talking about a cesium clock, and they were talking about how accurate it was in this. And in my head, because I actually was looking into this a couple of years ago, and I just stumbled across that they're measuring the decay of it, and when things decay, it gives off. It gives off a radio wave or an electrical pulse or whatever, something that a sensor picks up.
1 meter long wave or something in 1 second.
Well, it vibrates or sends off a pulse 296,000 times a second. That's how quick and they take it. They've got things called leak seconds and all this.
You got to ask.
It's fantasy. It's fantasy, man. That's
Where
all I'm saying.
in life do you ever need that kind of accuracy for anything?
Yeah, exactly. But it's fantasy, man.
I'll meet you at 12 noon and 10 15,000ths of a second. Don't be late.
Yeah, don't be late. I'll be there in a nanosecond, Jimbo. Stick the kettle on. I'll be around in a nanosecond.
But
through my time machine.
Part of that is just not necessarily what they call jonesing, but one-upmanship. I mean, they've learned, that they can, like the military when they put up like inflatable tanks and regiments and stuff. When it's not known, it looks scary, all these battalions of tanks, but there might be one real one for 10 balloons.
Hey, let me jump in real quick.
Science has done that too. Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick. Brian Leakey, you're trying to join Brian, but when I click your icon, it doesn't give me the option to permit you entrance, so I'm not sure what that means. Drop and come back.
Shout out, Brian Leakey.
Definitely. Hey, Jimbo, you know anything about sonar?
It's just sound waves that bounce off stuff underwater for the most part.
Yeah, I know that. But
there is above water sonar, but not as much.
Do you know anything about surface sonar detection?
Well, from the boat to underwater, there's you transmit.
Yeah, that's different. There's a downward vector. Yeah, but I'm talking about.
No.
Let me be blunt. There's a Burke class destroyers, and one of them I was reading up on, and I go, oh wow, look at this. Is it possible? The Burke class destroyer can detect a surface, something on the surface of water, 125 miles away.
I wouldn't doubt that. If there's nothing between you and it, yeah. I wouldn't
now,
doubt that.
is that possible on a curved surface?
No, when I was younger, we lost a canoe, or it was lost, and it went out into the Bay of Chaleur, and there's a 20 by 20 mile area that kind of had to be searched, right? Because when the tide goes out, it heads out to the Atlantic, and it's predominantly the currents in there bring things out to the Atlantic. So, before you go out on the water and try to find it that way, you go to a hill, and the hill was in Richmond, and you can see literally 500 square miles of flat surface to find your boat. When you get up in a plane in Campbellton, New Brunswick, or Bathurst, or anywhere, and you start to get about 1,000 feet up, 2,000 feet up, you can see all the way to Percé Rock. That's 100 miles away, 111 miles away, flat as a board. There should be over a mile of curve, over 5,800 feet. But every time I went up, it was flat. When we were having Friday night bonfires on the beach in Richmond, across the way is 20 miles exactly to the beach on the other side at a place called Jacket River. Not only could you see the bonfires on the beach at Jacket River, you could see the lights of the garage and other things in the town there in people's homes. The garage was an Irving gas station, and you could see people pull up basically the coastal highway, turn around the buildings, and pull up to the pump. And that's only about maybe 15 feet above sea level.
At what distance?
20 miles.
No kidding. Wow. You got pictures of that? You got film of that or something?
I was just a kid, a teen.
Oh, okay. You're saying back then.
I was thinking about flat Earth.
Yeah.
Well, we all got pissed and watched other people on the other side.
Well, why weren't you thinking of flat Earth, Jimbo? How dare you not spoil your teenage years thinking about flat Earth?
You should have had a camera with you. Damn.
My old Boy Scout master, he Glober absolutely, but he changed because he remembered something he always used to do from his home. He had a home just a few feet off the beach, nice place. And he used to sit in his living room, look out the bay window with his binoculars across the bay to the Irving gas station. and watch the cars at night and stuff and the lights on the beach and all that garbage. And when I said there should be over 210 feet of curve, a 21-story apartment building there, blocking your view there. It took a few days, a lot of anger, but he finally admitted it's flat. But we're
Yeah,
so
there's always
conditioned to
anger,
deny
isn't there?
our own brains. We're told we're stupid if we don't think like everyone else. It's part of
It's
peer
refraction.
pressure.
It's refraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else? Come on, what else could it be?
All right, let me jump in. Let me jump in again. Brian Leakey, it says, again, it's not giving me the option, so it appears to me that you're already in the call, so can you unmute and say something?
Well, if he was in, wouldn't we see him in the room here with 5 icons?
Yeah, I don't know.
One.
I don't know why it's not coming up to give him admission, so I don't know. Maybe I've got a limit of 3 people. I don't know.
No, there was 5. There was 5.
Yeah.
And before.
Well, I don't know how to solve that.
No, me neither.
Shout out to Ali B for going live the other day with StreamYard and showing me the way. So thanks for this.
Well,
Yeah, I tried to get on, Ali. You left right away, bro.
there was shit happening. I think I was at work or I was doing something, or it was. I was on my mobile or something. It's cool. You can do it on your mobile as well, as everybody probably knows. But you can do it on your mobile. So go into your account. But yeah, it was. Yeah, whatever. But it was good. I'll take this opportunity to say, nice one, Travis. I'm just back from a long journey up in Sweden here, so I'm just going to chill and listen to you guys. Nice talking to you again, Jimbo. Yeah, it's been quite a while. Yeah. SE, nice one, mate. I'll speak to you again. Thanks, Travis.
Nice talking to you, Ali, man. Always a pleasure, bro.
Yeah, I'll be listening anyway. So, good night.
Night, bro.
SE,
Yeah.
have you been making any observations?
As a matter of fact, I haven't been able to do observations because I'm trying to shoot Jupiter and Saturn, but there's so much atmosphere, there's so much water in the atmosphere, it's so humid that I'm not getting good shots. So haven't had much luck lately, to be honest with you. For example, I'm shooting Jupiter and I'm getting a ring around it. Like, what? You know, Jupiter has a ring, but it's like almost invisible, blah, blah, blah. But the way it's focusing, I'm not having good luck with that.
Is it a ring that is going around the object or through it or what?
Yeah, maybe I should post it. It looks freaky. There shouldn't be a ring there now. I'm sure it's because of the bad focus. Maybe I should post it just to get opinions on it. Because I have pictures of the same supposed gas giant in space. Let's not go through that. We're just going by that light in the sky. And I had like the dots supposedly, which are the moons. And you see them like clearly, you know? You see Jupiter and then you see 4 dots, right? But now I'm getting a ring. So it's kind of weird.
What you could maybe do is, are you familiar with the channel Take Back Space?
No.
Take Back Space. He does a lot of telescopic observations of the moon and the planets, and you know, I don't think he's gone live recently, but if you can get a hold of him and see what he thinks, he might be a good springboard.
Okay. And I'm gonna order a sun filter, as a matter of fact, today. Now that you mentioned it, and I'm planning to do some visuals of the sun you know, what they say, as it travels through the sky, if it gets smaller, bigger. I want to see for myself.
So what's going on out there in the chat? Anything going on out there?
I'm not looking at the chat. I'm on my phone.
Looks like Dan D's out there, Rob's out there, Walter Williams. Anybody wants to join, just go to the description of the show. The link's there. And you can always scroll back up in the chat. I think it's up there somewhere. But yeah. Jimbo, why do you think there's such a hesitancy to address light the way that you're bringing it up with the other content providers?
Light? The issue of light, you're saying?
Yeah, the way that Jimbo is talking about it when he mentions QE or he mentions Nathan and how they're not really interested in discussing it. I'm just wondering what his thoughts are in terms of why.
Yeah. I also would like him to say again his position, because I didn't quite get it. Does he think it's a photon, a wave, a combination of both? It's fascinating. Actually, light is the only thing I haven't figured out yet. Well, let me not sound too amongst a shitload of other things, but mainly light.
So you would include women in that arena of total comprehension?
Oh, most absolutely not. That's way over on the other side.
I think Jimbo might have stepped away for a little bit, but
so this is the thing here now. Some people say it's a photon, right? Then you have the dualists say it's a photon and a wave, which I think these guys have quantum mechanics wrong, because it's not. They don't. Quantum mechanics, if I got it correctly, which I probably don't, says that it's a photon, it's a particle, but it behaves mathematically once not observed. A lot of people think observed, but recorded. Once the information is collected, then it collapses into a mathematical wave. Then you have other people saying it's actually a propagation in space and blah. Tell you the truth, I don't know. What do you think, Travis?
I have no idea. Again, the only thing that I'll come down on is that I don't believe that it's what we've been told. You know, I guess I was thinking the other day when I was hooking up to a trailer and I was standing between the trailer or between two trailers and there was light in that area. And I was thinking, okay, so I don't have direct line of sight for the sun, but I've got light. So, you know, just in terms of, I don't even know how to say it. You know, if you think of a diagram that shows that light is coming at us in a straight line, you know, how does that work with angles? How does that work with pockets of space, like I was in between two trailers? You know, how does the light come around? Does it change from going in a straight line at that point? Because there's no direct line of, I guess, propagation or extension, or, you know, I just think
they say that it travels in bent, well, not bent, but straight lines, and then like picture it, a straight line, then another straight line, and another, like that's how they explain it. Never like deviating from straight, never curving. Isn't that the explanation? But
yeah,
like, I mean, what you're saying, so. How does it go around? Like when you shine a light, right? Yeah. And there's a blockage, and then you see it. Like, how does that work? I mean, I don't know. I'm the wrong person to talk about this. So.
Well, but even thinking about that, I think last week I showed it and brought it up again with one of my early observations on the Chesapeake. It was it was before sunrise, and to the left or to the right of my observation was complete darkness, and then I panned to the right, and you can just see the light slowly bleed in, and I don't have any. The sun's not up, so to speak, right? If it's, yeah, okay. So there's a attenuation of the light. The light is there. I can see it to the right. I can see the silhouette of the topography to the left. I can see the trees, and I can see a tower, maybe a fire tower or an antenna backlit by the light coming up. But then when I go to the right, the light stops. Why does the light stop? Why doesn't it keep piercing the darkness? If it's traveling without hindrance, the whole sky should be lit up.
Yep, it's supposed to travel forever. I mean, like I said, light is the most perplexing for me. Like, I get Coriolis, I could understand the different kind of gravities, that I get, but light, wow, I'm still working on that one.
Brian Leakey, you're here now. Well, I gave you admission.
Hey, what do you say?
Hey, Brian.
Man, yeah, let me get this microphone right, but good to hear that I'm finally in.
Yeah. Let us know what you did. How did you fix the situation?
I had to go to damn, I did all kinds of shit, man. But I had to go to StreamYard. I had to go and then it gave me option to go to. It wasn't easy, man, but then I think I blocked myself. Don't tell whoever's trying to join this, don't try and join with a blocked mic and camera. Just go up top to the top right, and then hit them buttons, and then try and find an access for that. For StreamYard to allow access for YouTube. And it's as easy as that once you get there.
What's up, you?
All right, we got a party started. Cleary, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
And we got John. Just do a mic check, guys.
Can you hear me at all?
And we got
We hear you.
Jimbo dropped, but I've got Brian Leakey here, John's here, Essie, Cleary. So, yeah, carry on, guys. Keep it going.
There we go. This is a pain.
What caught my
I think I got it.
attention?
Mic check.
Hey, what's up, Cleary?
Mic check.
Hey, what's up?
Loud and clear.
You're good, John.
Okay.
Man, what got my attention, and I heard this before, and it makes so much sense, is that one bald-headed dude. Like, he seems like a real intelligent guy, but he's talking about, and I've heard it other places too, but saying it's a wave is what something does. It's not what something is. And if you think about that, it makes perfect sense. Nothing can't wave. It's got to be something waving. So like a water wave, or so I guess a radio wave is the air or whatever waving. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Spot on. A wave is a byproduct of something.
And not only that, an acceleration is gravity is an acceleration. Acceleration too is not what some they're wrong right out of the gate. Say that an acceleration is acceleration. An acceleration describes what something is. Acceleration describes what something does. So the wrong rate.
You're a little bit
Yeah,
robotic.
it's pretty Go ahead, Cleary. Sorry.
Well, I say their trickery is breaking down on every level, man.
Yeah, today I heard that the atmosphere is in lockstep with the.
Man.
Are you there? I heard the atmosphere is in lockstep with the.
That presents.
Oops.
Yeah, that presents its own problem, man. And Chris pointed that out, and they were today explaining that on a minute of it.
Yeah, I heard the atmosphere is in lockstep with the spinning baller today. Although there is Coriolis effect, so there's also there's conservation of momentum, yet there's Coriolis effect, and that was the worst. Like you said, Essie, that was the worst double talk I've ever heard in my life today.
Yeah, I was talking to Big Blue about it.
Yeah, good job, John. I was dying to get on, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that, John. Yeah, I can't remember
Hey,
what they were
welcome to the
saying.
show, John. Gleem, you on a mic check?
Check 111. Am I there?
Hey, Gleem.
What's up,
Salute,
Gleem?
Well, I thought all the kings were in here, so I thought I might join you all.
Oh yeah, you fit right in, bro.
Salute one and all.
Yeah, man, I don't know how you guys can listen to that daily boom, man. It's just like I like Jose, man, but there's just so much stupidity going on in there. It's almost toxic.
I was dying to get in Clearly today, but sorry, but I couldn't. I just got in at the tail end. Oh, when I hear the Coriolis talk, it blows my mind.
Yeah, I heard
Big
you
Blue
at the end there.
Yeah.
Big Blue was afraid. He walked away from it. He was really afraid to talk to me about it.
The Gator was being stupid when you said 15 degrees. He kept saying 50 degrees, 50. I was like, God, you know what he's saying.
They try to make fun of John, because of his accent, but he had them under the bus. Good job, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, go back a little bit, John. Why do you think he didn't want to touch it? What was going on with the conversation?
I have talked with him before in after show, so he know me, and he's just a little bit afraid for me. So he know I know things, and I know.
He would have.
Sorry. So
yeah, I was gonna joke. Sorry.
I know he's afraid.
If he was gonna ask me when have I ever experienced Coriolis, I would say out on the golf course. When I when I drive the ball, I get a mean Coriolis effect.
Oh, it's funny.
A slice. But yeah, it's all conceptual bullshit, man. That's why we're focusing on the ground game now. I've been hanging out with Bev a lot, All we're talking about now is horizontal is level. And they can't even answer that damn question. It's horizontal level. They're like, well, no, horizontal is curved. It's just like, what? You'd fail a damn high school exam if you couldn't answer that question, man. But they have to
Bev is really cool. He has them jumping hoops. Bev, tell him to keep it up, bro.
Oh, yeah. He's killing gently right now.
Yeah, shout out to Bev. Try thinking. He is just killing it.
Yeah. As soon as you measure the edge of the canal and, you accurately do it with a 50% overlap using Euclidean principles, no two lines can share the same line segment. Basically, you're shooting a horizontal line. The other line is horizontal line sharing, the same line segment. So it's one single line with a 50% overlap. So you're not recalibrating yourself to a new gravitational center, right? Because you're on that same horizontal line. Every time you move that auto level.
Yeah, it looks like Japheth's out there in the chat. I can hear if you guys are talking. I'm sorry if I'm talking over anybody right now. I'm in a spot where I think I'm dropping the audio every once in a while. So Japhet asked what StreamYard is. It's just a platform for streaming, and then they have an open panel option, which is just fantastic. So I just put the link in the chat. If you guys want to join, click that link, and I'll let you in. Carry on, gentlemen.
Yeah, anyway, if anybody gets a chance to go over to Emma UK's live stream tonight, it'd be good. She just needs a few more hours so she can live stream the observation they're going to do tomorrow out there. It's going to be really cool, surveying. But that's all I got.
Oh, that's good stuff, man. And Emma is cool. I've been there before. Bev is killing it. Let me give you an example. Because of Bev, I asked Professor Phil Bell the other day. I asked him, tell me, because he was making fun of me, the ISS and this and that, and asking me questions. So I asked him, Professor, is flat and level curved? And you know what he answered me?
He said yes, I'm sure.
Listen to this, man. He answered me, on a table, it is, but on Earth, it is not.
What a hack. That's ridiculous.
Right. Well, that goes into the whole great scale negator, right? Everything that we know and experience on a small local scale completely disintegrates and does not transition into the greatness of the scale of the alleged planet that we're on.
Which is just another reason why not to trust Bearded Devil, as if he hasn't given you hundreds anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The table master.
I nicknamed him Erebus, Daedalus. Shout out to Erebus. Like somebody, and I'm not talking behind his back, I said this in front of him. Remember Hercules? When Daedalus used to come out and rub his hands and then go into the cave? I pictured Erebus plotting in his cave.
That's it. How can I deceive everyone this time? It's so funny.
Mostly Travis.
That's it. He's trying to.
Did you guys watch or see that response video I did to his proof of concept with his fish tank and gelatin?
No. Go on. Explain it. I didn't.
Well, basically, he gets the fish tank and he coats the bottom with gelatin. So he creates a surface. And when he first shows the video, hold on real quick, I'll let somebody in. Oh, that's Brian again. Okay. So when he first shows the fish tank, he's got water in the fish tank all the way up to the top, but it's so clear and pristine that I thought it was air. And then you've got the gelatin, which goes down to where his castle, a fish tank castle, he puts in there, and he creates this surface that functions pretty much like the surface of water does. But what he does is he discusses that observation as if what he created is a replication of the ether band up in the air. And so basically I just kind of try to break down that whole presentation, dismantling the fact that he's created a surface that functions a lot like the surface of water would do. And he responded somewhere, I think it was probably in a Discord, maybe Jose's Discord, that he has made a response video to my ignorant response video. And he's supposed to be uploading that, but I think it's just the sleight of hand, the great switcheroo that he does.
It is. There's a relevant density, because you could equally just say, yeah, I replicated your ether band by putting an ice sheet and then water on top of it. That ice sheet refracts light, so that's your ether band. Rubbish. It's to do with the amount of density and how much it does and what it does.
Yeah, and above that manufactured, fabricated surface that you created, it's not.
It's a blend.
Yeah.
It's not a separated layer, even though it is a layer. It is still part of the atmosphere. It's still part of the same material, just more of it. And that's not jello versus water. It's a complete different end of the spectrum, isn't it? It's like a solid and air.
All right, Jimbo and Brian, if you want to do mic checks, I try to get you guys in.
Yeah, thank you, man. Sorry about that.
With you talking about light earlier, though, there's a couple of things mentioned that I need to say. The Theora Apathetus, or Ken Wheeler, the bald guy, basically. He's the one that moved. Yeah, he moved the pendulous veins with the different. I think it was actually ultraviolet that moves it.
It's the ultraviolet. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and the opposite end of the spectrum doesn't do anything. And
Right.
it's to do with the coherence of it. Is similar to a. He always says this. He says a 5-watt LED will not do anything. Will only just barely illuminate a room. Whereas if you've got a 5-watt laser, you could burn a hole through something. So it's to do with how the light is coherent and decoherent.
I'm glad you brought him up, Gleem, because that's one of the theories I was saying before when I admitted I have no clue what's going on. He claims that the light you're seeing from the light bulb is not actually coming from the light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing.
He claimed.
I said it takes matter and energy to create light. A filament in a light bulb, it gets a electrical potential applied to it, and they pass more current through it than it can handle. And without burning out, the filament, glows red and emits radiation of a sort. And often light bulbs are coated with a white material to absorb and then radiate or re-radiate the white light, cool whatever light that you bought.
And
basically.
How does it reach your eye?
Well,
it excites it.
It doesn't reach your eye. It goes out to objects around you, and some of it is absorbed, and what is not absorbed is redirected to your eye or captured by your eye.
What's the mechanism? How does it get to your eye?
Secondary emission. If you go through atomic absorption and secondary emission and how they work, they go through, well, like in printing, you have 2 ways of looking at the light, primary or secondary. A primary
I get
source
that, bro.
is like
I get
the
that,
sun.
bro. I'm talking via
sense.
wave, via particle, via excitement of how does it get to your eye?
The scene itself, or whatever you're looking at, that your retina captures and transmits to your brain, it's electromagnetic waves.
A wave, okay.
It's a wave.
It can't
I
be
have to see it as a wave in that sense. Not as a material wave, but as energy. Like I say, if you stand in the ocean in 3 feet of water and there's a 2-foot wave, the energy of the wave hitting you is not the same as the wave in the water hitting you.
You could think of it as a particle.
Yeah, and again,
but it doesn't work like that. You have a lot of people disagree with you on that, bro.
Look, like I said, waves heterodyne. When Ranty talks about the waves and how every once in a while waves combine to form a higher, thinner wave, sometimes up to 3 times as high as the original wave. That's just like in music when you hit 2 keys and a third one resonates. It's just like in just any other thing where the wave.
That's not the question. It's the transmission. It's the transmission that's the question. The issue.
They say Einstein's photoelectric effect proved that light was particles, but I mean hitting the plates. But I mean, couldn't that just as well be explained with like heat? You know, heat signatures hitting the plate.
You have the problem. What color do you think your car is? What color do you think your car is? You're roboting too much to understand.
Hey, Brian, we can't hear anything you're saying. You got bad.
Can I say about particle? Light can't be a particle because particle is something of matter, but light can shine on particle and go through particle maybe.
Well, the color of light is related to frequency. That's the wave, not the particle.
Yeah, it can
Quantum
be a
mechanics is based on particles. That's the current theory, guys. I'm just saying.
Well, light is absorbed by some materials.
I don't buy it.
When
No,
white light
it's
hits, like I say, what color do you think your car is? If
The
you think
light
it's
is-
red, it's not red. That's
It's
the
black at night.
rejected. It's the rejected color. What is
Yeah,
absorbed, you
everything
don't
else got
see,
absorbed.
and then
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rest gets retransmitted or rebroadcast, if
That's
you
why
will.
I asked you before if you heard of dark material. Have you guys ever
Yes,
heard of that?
yes, that sense. I thought you were going to say dark matter, but no, dark material.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It
fully
absorbs
absorbent.
99.99999% of light.
Yeah, I think there's a name for like a paint that they call black, not blackle, not blackened.
No, this is something
No,
else. The paint, this supersedes the paint.
Okay.
This is beyond that paint. I just saw
Oh,
this. It
you've
just
seen
came
that
out.
paint, eh? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I seen the paint. Yeah, this is way ahead of the paint, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people
But
say.
again,
some people
I
say
was
they
going to
can say
mention too
colors and
that
music.
I do have a very powerful beam searchlight, and my eyes can see the beam from the side, but my camera can't. It's almost invisible to it. So sometimes I guess optics is based on angle of the light as much as anything. You know, you look how bad it gets
Definitely.
over water when the sun is at different angles to you. It's terrible. Other times
You
there's
know
no
why I
problem.
lean towards the photon part? Because of that thing you said before, Jimbo. You know that the leaf inside the bulb, and Gleem said it's the ultraviolet light. Now, how could something has to be moving that? See what I'm saying?
Well, like in
It
a
can't
light
just
bulb,
be a wave.
an
Like,
overabundance of, well, what we call electrons push through a filament, spills over, spills out, radiates outward.
yeah,
Again,
but
it
it's a
takes
light.
matter to create light, you know,
Yeah.
vice versa.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm just, brain. I have no clue in this. I
See,
find it
where
fascinating.
Well,
where
if you
can
apply the rules like for light is a local phenomena. It has to be generated locally. It cannot travel forever. It decays, you know, with a exponential factor. It's a root mean square decay. Basically, it's an exponential decay, just like
Not
sound.
according to current physics. It travels
No,
forever in a
I
vacuum.
don't know. I don't.
Which I don't buy. I think it's bull.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying. Yeah.
You got to
Yeah,
be
if
a
I took
special
one-
kind of stupid. You got to be a special kind of stupid to believe that light travels forever.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's created locally and it decays. Like I say, otherwise you'd have one light in a big warehouse and it would reach all four corners. That just doesn't happen.
You know what
The
else is
universe,
comical?
We know the
Remember
farther
those
away.
antenna TVs? Remember we had the rabbit ears,
Mhm.
and we had to we'd get the snow if we don't get it just right. Well, they claim that those signals are still traveling in space, and somebody a couple of million light years away is going to watch I Love Lucy in a million years from now.
Yeah.
You know?
See, there's a good point there, though. There is a very good point there, which Ken Wheeler himself, I was going to say there before, how Ken explains it himself is it's a perturbation of the ether, meaning that if you can imagine, we're all underwater. If I'm right next to you, if I don't touch you, but I disturb the water around you, you will feel an effect. And that's similar to what it is.
That people don't understand is that around the Earth, we have weather and we have lightning. We have lightning every second of every day across every inch of this place. There is no time that we don't have electrical discharges going on and lightning. These static surges disrupt radio signals and everything, these voltage spikes. There's no way that a transmission that depends on, what we call, crucial data and, every single bit being accurate could get through any of that.
Hey, it could
The only
be the
reason we
lightning
have
that
communications is because it's all filtered out.
It could be the light. It could be the lightning, exciting the oceans on a grand level, creating a hydrogen constantly that powers the sun, and then the plasma from the
Heat
sun
rises.
turns it back into water.
There's another rule: is that heat rises. I don't know. That's how I was brought up.
They are intimately linked as well.
I have never seen heat sink.
You know, that it won't. And that's the same going back to the particle and wave thing. The difference between it is that when you cool a particle down, it will act like a wave, more like a wave. If you heat it up, it will act like a particle. That's the whole thing where helium-4 comes in. If you can imagine lots of little particles in a box bouncing around.
That's my problem. I can't imagine all this stuff. If I can work with like water, I can. Helium-4, I can't work with that. And it's such a obscurest type of like substance that it's almost has no place in the conversation.
There's states of matter they're not telling us about, man. I mean, you got to dig deep for them, like the superfluids and stuff. They make it sound like it's like an Einstein Higgs boson.
Guys, I'm just going to jump in real quick. I don't know if you can hear when there's over talking, and I know you guys aren't trying to do it, but if you, like Ryan just started talking, and Jimbo was talking.
I jumped in.
So just try to keep it in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying they make it sound like the Higgs boson. They make it sound like the Higgs boson condensate, like they can make that superfluid just on a microscopic level, and it was predicted so long ago. No, they're making beakers of that stuff, man, and it's stuff that they're just not being straight about, man. But we're getting to the bottom of that also.
I know there's a lot going on in radio frequencies, and they can do almost anything to people now. Turn us into zombies, make us raise our left hand, right hand, put it down, do whatever, just by pointing equipment at us, an antenna, and flipping a switch.
You hear some crazy shit, man. I hear they can, I don't know how true this is. You know, before they used to be able to read, to hear somebody a long way, they just shoot a beam on the window, right? You've seen that technology.
Yep, the laser mics have a range,
Yeah.
they say officially, of 12 miles. You can find one for about $200 on eBay or Amazon that has a 12-mile range. If you can spot a pane of glass 12 miles away across a lake or a bay or anything, and people are watching hockey in Canada, or, you know, just talking, your device can pick up every word they say 12 miles away.
Yeah, amazing. Now, you guys seen the sound cannons they have now? Instead of a water cannon, they have sound cannons. I'm sure everybody's seen those, right?
Yeah. Frequency
okay,
cannons,
now check this out. Now, what I heard, I don't know how true this is. Apparently, they can bounce a beam at a person's head and make them believe all kinds of strange stuff, like hearing noises and stuff like that.
They did that in I guess it's Iran, where when they use what they called the voice of God to, in Arabic, speak to the fighters in their minds only through radio waves or whatever, these elf waves or whatever they are, that Allah wanted them to give up and surrender. And
yeah,
they
here
did.
in the UK, they had it on a national TV show called The Gadget Show, and they were in a crowded sort of like shopping centre, and they fired this. It was only sort of like a boom microphone, but it's obviously a speaker, concentrated speaker, and through all the chattering, this one person over the other side could hear exactly what the other person was whispering through the microphone.
Yeah, there's one commercially available that's been around for several years. It's called The Whisper. It's certainly updated now and quite the device, but people can be chatting a football field away from you, and you can basically point this thing at it and hear them.
Yeah, we'll say
conversation.
I've got like an expensive recording mic, and you can literally shut all your windows, double glazed and whatnot, and you can still hear people in the house across the road.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, even way back when, someone could sit outside your office, if you had a computer screen and they had a view of it, even through a window or anything, they could use a contraption made from some gadgets from Radio Shack and a Pringles chip case and see everything that you were seeing on your screen from about 2 blocks away. When it was discovered in Washington, it started being investigated and referred to as Tempest, transient electrostatic pulse technology. But you could buy stuff from Radio Shack and a grocery store in Hack, Washington.
I feel like I've experienced that. Sorry, man. I feel like I've experienced that in nature, man. With sounds with like frogs and shit like that, man. Like where it felt like they were just right in my ear and shit, man. I feel like, but I did see what you're talking about, Gleem, and and Jimbo too. I seen that.
There's a funny thing with the mind too. The more quiet it is, the more you will hear. Partly it's because the mind tries to create things for you to fill emptiness and nothingness, because it's not normally a part of existence, So if you're sensory deprived in a dark room in a chair where you have no light, no radio, no sound, no nothing, you will hear sound, you will see things. It's just the way the mind behaves.
That's it. I think Vsauce done a series on that where he trapped himself in a dark room for a couple of, or a dead silent room it was. It's specifically designed to kill off any sound whatsoever.
He freaked out.
It drives you. Yeah, it drives you mad. Drives you mad.
Well, if you don't have a personal control and a conscious physicality and knowledge of that, like I don't know, like grasshopper in kung fu, you're in a hot box, a sweat box, your little prison, but don't sweat it. So he says, let's water evaporate off them and don't get all anxious, and walks out. Part of it's belief. If you panic, you'll probably die. If you don't panic, you'll probably live. Swimming, it's one of the rules. Don't panic.
That's it.
Any situation, don't panic.
Yeah, that's it. The more calm you are, the better you're going to handle it.
I think part of the reality is that I just saw it in a TV show I was watching, something on Netflix. I can't remember what it was, but basically they just repeated the story that we only use 10% of our brain, and I think that part of that is that we have not been educated or shown how to use the other 90%.
I think that was proven completely false, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, 10% of our brain is what we use as our short term, but our whole brain is in constant use all the time.
But when you accept double standard duality and that split type of dichotomy, then you can't really go nowhere, because it's a denial of reality. You get to adopt whatever you want that isn't reality, that shakes your comfort zone or disturbs it, and then move on with your life.
I guess what I was thinking, Gleem, I don't disagree with what you just said. I think it's kind of like the sensory deprivation where your other senses kick in. So we have the ability. So the passive side, what you described, right? Our brains are constantly taking in information subconsciously and even subconsciously. But in terms of tuning in to what is around us, I don't believe we have been educated or equipped, or maybe I'll say it this way: I believe that we have been prevented from having that kind of that kind of ability to tune into our surroundings on a more active level.
Yeah, two things on that. One, you should really look into Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance theory. It's basically a theory where he's a biologist, Cambridge biologist, really high up. I mean, his work in the polar oxygen discovery is in every single exam paper throughout the world. But he developed a theory. He didn't come up with it, but he's developed a theory because he studied plants so much. He wanted to find the gene which passed on shape. So why does a flower grow this shape? Why does it have these particular Fibonacci patterns and stuff like that? And he, in his 20 years professional career, he couldn't find anything that controlled the shape of anything. in biological tangible material stuff. So there was this old theory that was a genuine theory back in the 1910s, 1930s, where everything, not like space, but every cell in your body, every cell has a field. Around that field, when you have multiple cells put together, there is a larger field, a nested field. And that field just being there applies a pressure to form shape. Like, put it this way, is perfect thing is the exact same chemical makeup of your arm is the exact same chemical makeup of your leg. So what makes an arm and a leg a leg? Yeah, and where he's coming from is the way that the cell biology grows, in as much as you do get hands and feet, it's to do with the pressure of the field around it causing that to happen for each species. Now, on top of that, what he says is that every different species can communicate through this field. This field is like ether. Okay, and it's literally put it this way. He done an experiment on dogs, or investigated and wrote a paper on this, where if you taught a dog of a certain breed in England, let's say, a new trick, if you then went over the other side of the world to Australia, the same breed of dog would learn 100% of the time, and this is weird to say, but 100% of the time will learn that same new trick quicker than the first. Now, if you then go to, let's say, America, get the same breed of dog, teach it the same trick, it will learn it quicker than the first two. Now, they've done this with rats, cats, dogs, lots of different animals, and it's always rung true. In as much as there is a collective
that could
learning.
be resonance and like, you know, communication, like nonverbal communication that people have. When you know someone really well, a look is often enough to, you know, understand a situation. You know, that's not
No
really
doubt about it.
scientific proof. It's an emotional proof.
I heard
Definitely,
that
but
same thing, Gleem, but I heard it with the monkeys on the island and everything about the watching fruit thing. But yeah, so that's the second time I've heard that. But yeah, there's a lot going on. Like science says, you know, they explain things, but they do admit that the more they learn, the more they see that they have more to learn. You know what I'm saying? The more they figure out, the more they realize
what
that they
I
have
saw
to
with
figure
the
out.
monkeys and the monkeys learning was that they were feeding the monkeys on a beach with a whole wheat, and one of the monkeys went out in the water and was dropping a handful of sand and whole wheat into the water, separating the sand from the wheat, scooping up the wheat on the surface of the water, and then eating it free of sand. Other monkeys saw the behavior and repeated it. But they were on an isolated place. There's no way they have telegraph or communication to other places. But their behavior
Right, they were too
developed
far away,
there
right.
was isolated, but it became the behavior of other groups of monkeys that were kind of fed in the same manner. So that's not really explicable except on a, you know, like I say, nonverbal communication level. Like when two people really know each other and they walk into a bad situation, a glance is all you need to get the hell out of there, right? You don't even have a word.
Can I say something? For people, they call it ESP. They can read thoughts long, far away from each other. So, do you heard about it? ESP.
Yeah, well,
sensory perception.
Yeah, if you're driving down the road and you don't look behind you, but your instincts tell you there's or something, your ESP tells you there's so-and-so behind you, and you look back, and guess what? So-and-so is behind you.
Yes, that too. But you can also send thoughts if you're thinking something, and people in other country can take it and know it.
Well, they did a lot of studies on remote viewers and stuff. People who can read other people's minds, see locations in remote places, and
yeah, they underestimate intuition. Like we all have it, and like they say, if somebody's like burning a hole in the back of your head looking at you, that's just or your ear. If you get an itch in your ear, somebody's talking about you. We sense it. It's just they describe for a lack of a better way of describing it. But yeah, we all sense things like that. And before we even see the people in that room that he described us walking into, before you even see the look of people's faces, you can sense it's a good place and it's bad. Yeah, we all have that.
It's like knowing your phone's going to ring, so you walk up to it before it even rings, before you put your hand on the hook. I mean, it rings.
And you know if people are coming to
all the
visit.
time. I think of a person, and then that person calls me.
See, that is exactly
Same
what Rupert's work
idea,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, Rupert first started. He actually got outed from the scientific community due to, I can't remember his name now, but he's the old magician debunker from over in the States. But Rupert Sheldrake basically started saying that dogs knew when their owners were coming home, so they'd go to the door well before they're due to pull up, and they'd wait at the door, and then all of a sudden they'd turn up. And he'd done a test basically, because obviously you can think that that's just a timing issue. They know the time, they know at this time of day they're going to be coming home, but they changed the time of day. They done so many tests on it, and it was above average that more often than not, more than 50-50 basically.
Yeah, I don't
would that say Gleem?
No.
Hold on. Hey, would that explain this? Gleem, my wife, man, and it's crazy. She is so blessed with this shit, or whatever you want to call it. But she, with all 4 of her daughters, she's still getting sick, just out of the blue, and she called. And I believe it.
You're really roboting
too much. I can understand, Brian.
I'll mute.
I can't barely understand.
And I'm roboting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have yet to see someone who's given their dog a Timex or a Rolex that can read the little needles or numbers and digits and
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But again, they sort of like, there was this one woman who was X amount of miles away, and they told her to leave work early, leave work late, do this, that, and the other, but the dog still got it most of the time, or more often than not.
Well, if you take 2 samples of a sample of yogurt, divide it into 2 bowls, give one milk and not the other, and have sensors in them. The one that doesn't get milk, which is food for yogurt, yeast, and whatever, they respond jealously.
Yeah,
they know the other is getting fed. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. That's it.
Question is, do we have 5 or 6 senses? Of course, we have 6. Yeah, I think so.
In all honesty, I will answer that question with, there are probably in science about 26 senses.
Okay.
The 5 senses is a complete load of tosh, because you got like, here's one, sense of balance. That's a sense that you have through your ears, and that's it's an additional one to your standard 5.
The horizon is in the middle there.
Yeah.
You feel if you are moving left to right and everything. You know what the horizontal is.
Yeah. Well, the US Army done a test on it, and the US Army completely done a proper recorded test in Vietnam, in the Vietnam War, where they shaved a soldier's head. They shaved one head and let the other one grow his hair, because what they wanted to do is to see whether your hair had anything to do with your sense of detection of when the enemy is coming. Because back in them days, and still today, your hair, even though it's dead, is known as root nerve endings. Now, it always turned out that the guy with the bald head actually got caught all the time by his own camp. Obviously, he wasn't getting hunted down properly, but the guy with the long hair always would disappeared before they got to his camp. So it was kind of proven there, but they couldn't say, yeah, this is 100%, you must grow your hair, because obviously in their terms, you have to shave your head and have short hair to avoid it getting caught in machinery and stuff. But that was logged back in the Nam War.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely something to it. And going right the way back to that, Ken Wheeler actually says a demonstration that you can actually do to prove that ether exists is you can get a TV in the middle of your street. It doesn't have to be, it can be sort of like God knows how many feet away from you. But if you get a large magnet and you have the TV on, you can actually affect, just by moving the magnet, you can affect the TV screen. You know, where SE was saying, oh yeah, that's radiation from the beginning of the universe. Forget all that. This is basically interacting with the TV, even though there's tens of feet, I wouldn't say hundreds of feet between you, but tens of feet in between you and a turned on TV. And he shows you, he says, I've done it all. And it's a massive magnet, I will say. It's one of them £5,000 massive, looks like about 20 odd stacked vinyls on top of each other. But it has interaction. It changes the screen, the way it moves. So there must be something in between it that has a reaction and action. Push, pull, whatever. Yeah, and in my eyes, I mean, they say the Casimir effect is what I was trying to explain earlier with if we were all in water, if I move, you're still going to have an effect, or the water between us. If I move towards you, the water between us will gush out either side of us, and that will have some sort of effect to have a push on you. And that's what the Casimir effect is. When you suck out a vacuum and you put two tiny, they've got to be really tiny, non-conductive plates right close to each other, it does the same thing. It will either push or pull according to the amount of space in between, or the reaction of the matter being in the space itself is disturbing the space and creating a pressure.
Yes, it's interacting together. Everything close together is interacting.
Yeah, and I do believe it's intimately linked to the electrostatic field. As Jimbo was saying about the
is my mic any better, Gleem?
Yeah, it's
Am I
crystal
still roboting?
Nah, you're crystal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man. When they tell me it's a particle, the one thing that I could never completely be sold on that is the fact that that light slows down going through the fish tank of water and then speeds back up when it gets out. That's not how a particle behaves. There's no force to explain that, So
do you know how they do explain that officially? Okay,
how?
So if you can imagine, if I get if I get thick glass, so if I get a foot thick glass, like bulletproof glass or something behind a prison wall or something like that, I don't know, but a thick glass, if I shine light through it, it will, the path of that light, and bear in mind we're talking an electromagnetic wave here, but if you talk a straight laser beam, you put it straight through that glass, it will go straight through. No, well, there will be a slowdown, but it will just go straight through. Now, if you smash that glass, so it's got lots of little cracks in it and lots of little bits, shine the same laser through, it's going to slow down even more, because of all the little light trajectories, let's say, have to go through all the different cracks before it can get out the other end. Now,
so in other words, it doesn't really slow down. It's just altering it. Well, yeah, I mean that.
Yes, through the molecular structure.
Have you seen David LaPointe's primer fields? I mean, that explains a lot of things, double slit and all that shit, man. What do you think about that?
Definitely. Yeah, he's all for.
Did you see what he came up with?
Plasma.
His device with the energy thing,
the
how
Diablo.
He shoots the bearing. Yeah, that's I downloaded the patent. He gave it to everybody. I downloaded it, and I was gonna, when I get some money, I'm gonna try and make it. But he said that ain't the end all energy thing, but it's pretty much free energy. The way he has it set up, man, if you look at it, man, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, definitely. I've looked into a lot of things like that. I mean, the Searle effect generator is probably the nearest I've seen, but on his particular one, there is a another, I can't remember his name now. There was another guy, and it's related to Ken Wheeler again, who created something. It wasn't perpetual at all. I can't remember his name, but it was a similar along the lines of using plasma, but it wasn't perpetual. There was no way it was perpetual.
Yeah, but this thing he came up with is 100% perpetual. He takes them bowls and he has them all focused with the north facing one way and all that. But he takes them bowls and he spaces them out, and he shows his last video, I think it was, where he shows
which configuration.
Where he does like 4 bowls in a row, and he shows bending it, doesn't slow them down. So he's perpetual motion, but it's not like some huge amount of energy, but it's perpetual motion. You know, if you put it in a circle.
Can I mention something about waves and this stuff? It's like related magnetism, I believe, in a sense, to radio frequencies in the AM, amplitude modulation, they call it. Well, a sine wave doesn't have any really valuable energy you can use. The half cycle, you got the positive peak, if you will, on the top half of the wave or mountain, and then you have a negative half cycle. In AM radio, signals are AM, they're modulation or changes in the height of this sine wave, but you can't use the whole sine wave to hear a radio station or music or anything. It has to suffer a process called clipping. Clipping cuts off half of the wave.
Squares it.
It doesn't square the wave. The amplitudes on the positive half cycle are still the same. It's just half of the cycle has been cut off, so there's no cancellation of the energies, basically.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Like with the guy, he was saying.
Let me get to the magnets, because I was trying to go from the AM, the amplitude modulation, and the clipping to why magnets have the properties they do of taking energy apparently from the air and from nowhere, from the ether, if you will, and producing, well, a magnetic flux around it that has power and strength. It's possible that these domains, they call them, of steel, when they're lined up in a battery through electrification and their process of being magnetized, become clippers. They take part of the sine wave and they destroy it, leaving the other portion of it a positive force that has to be pushed out one end, basically, directionally.
Yeah, this guy showed these things, man, and he shows like a transformer, like a microwave transformer, and how the coils are wrapped, or it was an induction. It was like a little induction type of deal, and he showed where the iron, the foundation, the iron plates that they put together and they wrap the coils around. He showed that if you just cut the connection of that iron, if you cut the connection from one coil to another somewhere in that series, that you get perpetual motion. And he's saying it's that easy. I haven't tried it yet though.
You know, everything goes through a transformer system. We say the process is we generate electricity at these dams or nuclear plants, they claim, or whatever, at these dams. Now, guess what? That's an AC quote voltage being applied to these high tension wires.
Right, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Hold it. There's no physical connection between the wires, the water, and the stator that generates that potential. Zero. The whole system is insulated. When it gets to your home, it passes through transformers that pass a magnetic field through iron and have no physical contact into your, home and to, your power boxes and stuff. Now, through the whole AC system, it's all isolated. There is no
I'm not disagreeing with that,
contact.
Man. I see what you're saying, but I didn't explain it good enough. What I meant to say is the drag you get he's saying to eliminate the drag from he said it eliminates like the magnetic dead spots of the drag is if you take the I don't even, man, I'm trying to figure out what they call the iron that they wrap the coils around.
He's still spinning balls though in his dishes that are spaced out, right?
No, this ain't Dave LaPointe. This is another guy he's an electrician. And he's showing that if you cut the circuit, if you just cut the from one coil to another, how they're all connected basically, and the wire's insulated, and in the induction, how you get the dead spots in any magnetic in the movement, you get a dead spot that stops the perpetual motion of pretty much anything. And he's saying that you can eliminate them dead spots. I wish I could describe this better, but what does that sound like?
Whether it's induction, it's still an iron transformer of one form or another. The wire that's wrapped around the iron load, the primary that gets the voltage in, is insulated from the wire that it's wrapped around. It's either varathane coated, wire wrapped, wax protected, whatever. But there's no physical contact. Only magnetic waves and pulses are going through any transformer. The whole system is a transformed system based on potential difference. There's no motion, there's no anything until, like when it comes into your home. It is
insulated. Yeah, you're right. The wire is insulated from the iron. You're right, but it's worth a try though.
Look, every AC system you have almost, like especially home electronics and TV, has to convert it to a stable DC to operate. But
you got to consider the fact that a lot of things they tell us. Yeah, things we know, right? But you got to consider that a lot of things they tell us might not be fully accurate. There might be some catches in this stuff. It seems like nowadays they don't grant patents. They don't grant patents unless it goes along with their physics and their math. It seems like every breakthrough nowadays, either they keep it to themselves or either they don't grant the patent and
we all know what cars
agree with their physics.
Yeah, car batteries and electrical systems are. Well, here in North America, we have a powering system that depicts electrons moving from a negative born to a positive born. In England, they consider holes in atoms, if you will, that allow from the positive born transfer by jumping hole to hole to the negative born.
Hey, what's your name?
Concept. James.
Is this Jim? Is this James?
Jimbo.
Hey, I'm Jimbo. Okay, I'm Brian.
Hello, Brian.
How many ways would you say there's at least a few ways we could be powering our homes if they let the information out? Okay, good. So I know who I'm talking to. So you would agree that we are, the way we're doing things are
we should all have our own free power.
Now, okay, I'm with you now. I was with you before, but now I'm 100% with you.
Yep, we should all have our own free power.
Anyway,
electrical energy and a lot of our devices shouldn't have to pay a penny ever, even for the communications aspect. Zero.
Excuse me, microwaves. Anyway, about microwaves. They go straight line of sight. So if you
have an omnidirectional antenna, the microwave will be omnidirectional.
They go everywhere. Yeah, they go all over.
We design things to make it, omnidirectional, or focused.
Because I made this thing, man. I made this thing when I was looking at the guy. I'll think of his name in a second, but the guy who drove across America with his little dune buggy thing on like 6 tanks of water.
Who went for dinner and said they poisoned me? Yeah, and I died.
Stanley Myers, his brother. It even says in the newspapers that Stan Myers claimed that they poisoned him. And then they said his the Belgium oil investors. But anyway, he was a patriot and he didn't want to sell it to foreigners. He wanted to keep it, in America. He was a Christian and a patriot and all that. But besides all that. So I got the idea of I've seen people applying it to their gas tanks, and saying they're saving fuel and all that. And I just made one for the fun of it at first, and I almost gave up on it because the MythBusters said, can you run a car on this stuff? And Jamie's in the car.
Everything. Those people are
exactly
spies and freaking liars. They'll sabotage anything.
They sabotaged it, man. I almost stopped making it.
Monkeys.
Listen to this.
I hate them.
I'll make the story short, but they sabotaged this. They made a beautiful HHO generator, and it was so beautiful. And then they plugged it into power, and it got like one bubble every 3 seconds. Just went bloop, bloop. And then I almost quit making mine. I was like, damn, it is bullshit. It's YouTube bullshit. But I was almost so close done to making it. I said, let me go ahead and make it anyway. And mine did the same thing. And then I added some baking soda and it started growing crazy, producing gas. And then I lit the gas in a balloon and it exploded.
Yeah.
And I said, damn, they made that.
Yeah, 4 or 5 liters a minute, you can run a car no problem on the highway.
So they made this beautiful thing, this beautiful device, way better than mine. It was all professional looking, and they didn't know to add a catalyst to the water. Come on, man. But they deceived the whole country. So when I figured that out, I said,
Yeah.
what can we do with this? So I said, man, I wonder if if I get my generator and if I have a DC output, if I can use the DC output to make this gas,
Your mic
and then
is a bit hot.
if I use the DC output to power the my little HHO generators to make the gas to run the generator itself. And I got the generator started. I took the carburetor off, but there's some mental block keeping me from doing it. But I only got it running for a second. But I'm if I could ever get the mental capacity to make a couple extra generators and combine them, I need like some Y hoses or something to combine them. But if I could get the generator running off one of these little generators, then I could use the DC power to power it and have like 4 free plugs,
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, if I could think of something this simple, and if I can get this generator running even for a few seconds, then they have to know about this and they have to be doing it, and then I see the Mythbusters trying to deceive us, obviously trying to deceive us. And so that's just, man, that's crazy.
Did you think they want you salvaging an old Fresnel lens out of a TV, an old projection TV?
I got like 5 of them.
running a generator and a little Honda generator and watching TV, doing internet off just some water that you've turned into electricity?
You can melt lead with one of those babies.
Absolutely.
From a TV.
Melt nickels into perfect little balls and cast them.
I lit some grass and hay and shit on fire, but I have like 5 of them things, but I haven't melted anything.
If it was
past
set up
that.
on a timer and a rotation device and stuff, it could generate enough hydrogen to power your house all day, all the time you had the sun.
Just
generate
be careful
gas,
with this,
feed it into the Honda, and you got your power for TV, refrigerator, everything.
This for
every time I see
lens,
go ahead.
You guys should be very careful. Like whoever's listening, it could burn a hole in your arm in a second. So don't play around with that.
It's not that fast, SC, man. It's hot, bro, but trust me, it's hot, bro, but trust me, man. I tested that first off, and it's like hot, but your instinct is pulling away. It ain't instantaneous. I'm just telling you.
It boils aluminum. It'll boil it away to gas and just have it vaporize and go away. It boils aluminum.
Man.
It lit some wet hay on fire, so I know. But that's the first thing I had to test was putting my hand there. But it's hot as shit. But trust me, it takes a second to focus that energy. In other words, you have a split second to move your hand when you feel the heat. That's all I'm saying.
Leave it there for 3 seconds.
Rocks, you put them under there.
No.
They turn into obsidian. Some kind, I don't know what kind it is, but you put it under one of these lenses and it turns into obsidian, black glass.
You leave it there for 3 seconds, man. You just cooked yourself wherever you're pointing it. If you got it focused.
You could cut
I got one of those guys. It's about I don't know. It's about, let's say, 2 feet by 3 feet long. Man, oh man. Those
melt
things
a
are
copper
dangerous.
penny in what, 2 seconds?
Oh yeah.
Man, the ones I got, it took to light the wet hay. I got one from a Sony TV that's the best. And every big screen I see, one of them old projector TVs. Dude, besides that, there's also some of them lenses in them TVs where you can stick your hand in there and not even see your hands. So I took one of them apart. Or I'm in the middle of taking one apart to see how that's acting. Like there's a bubble lens that's got that fluid shit in it. But once you dump that out, there's a contraption that hooks up to one of them lenses that if you could stick stuff in there and not even see it, man. And that's some technology that that's not readily available for everybody, but that's probably like some cloning type of stuff, man. It's pretty neat. There's a lot of stuff in them TVs,
YouTube,
man.
He makes knives. He melts lead, and he makes knives. YouTube it, you'll see, with that Fresnel lens.
Dude, I'm about to melt some lead. Oh shit! It's starting to rain out here, but yeah, I got some lead weights and stuff, man.
Lead melts easy, compared to
man,
a lot
I got
of
so many projects, man, that I don't finish, man. But I always do proof of concept. Like I did prove with me and a few of my buddies that that hydrogen gas, the HHO gas, will run a motor with just that. No priming necessary, no nothing. And there's a trick to it. And It's not nothing that complicated, but yeah, it will run a gasoline motor and
You
with
need
no
those
primer or no nothing.
flashback protectors, you know.
Yeah, I ran it through a water, like they call it a bubbler, and but what I got to do is I have to combine a few of them together. And what Stan Myers was saying is and he was keeping it kind of secret, but he let the idea out, is that there's a certain volts with amps, like something with the volts and current combined, there's a sweet spot. So once I get back to doing it, I'm gonna see if I can find that sweet spot. But in my mind, I know it's gonna take a lot of work, so it just kind of got me fizzled out.
Personally, I think he was concentrating a lot of the heat of the engine, because at about 800 degrees, water separates into hydrogen and oxygen, and by recycling that heat that's normally wasted, he was able to extend it enormously gas mileage.
It seems like he said it was like around 5 volts or something. But another one I did is I took a wire that I got out of one of these TVs or off one of these motors, and it was real thin wire, and I took and made some balloons, because that HHO gas, it does float. And so I floated a wire up probably about I don't know, 500 feet, maybe 800 feet, and then I put a piece of rebar and I put it in the ground, and I had a headlight hooked to rebar, and then I had the positive hook to the copper wire going up in the atmosphere with the balloon. And I never got the thing. I got tangled up in this shit. It was aggravating me, but because it was at night by the time I got it done. But I checked with my meter, and it showed me some volts. I forgot how much it was, but it gave resistance when I put it on the ohms. It showed resistance. So if it's showing resistance, don't that mean that that's usable energy? That's a question. If I show resistance on my voltmeter, don't that mean that because the current part of my meter is the fuse is blown, but it did show resistance. So don't that mean that there's current there if it shows resistance and volts?
IVR.
There's like a mental block though, man. I'll be honest. There's like a mental block, man, getting me to finish any of these things, man. It's hard to explain. It's like, man, I see it works. I know what I got to do. I got to seal the little jars better with that one experiment, and then I got to go up higher with the wire and the balloon experiment. And for some reason, man, I sit there contemplating them, but I never finish them, man. It's just like, if I had some backup or some support, man, maybe some motivation. The motivation I got to even get that generator started to begin with was the people on Jose's show doubting me that I could even do it. And but I didn't take it past that step of getting it running for a few seconds, but I didn't complete the challenge. The challenge was to get it going for like, I think 20 seconds, on just the HHO gas. And I have not done that yet, but I know that I can. And I think people have already done it.
Any HHO that you can add to your system, even if it's running on gas, will reduce your, gas consumption of the hydrocarbon gas.
Yeah, I've seen that, and that's like all the information they'll let out, though, man. Because, like I said, I got the proof of concept that the gasoline motor will run on just the HHO gas. Now, I thought I would need a primer of a little bit of gasoline, but in fact, I did not need a primer. I only got it running for a few seconds, but it did run on just the HHO gas. So that's information I don't think they're throwing out there. Because, like I said, I don't consider myself nothing special. I'm a hands-on kind of guy, but if I've done it, then they know everything about it. And there's people around the country who know about it.
HHO is that it burns at the temperature it knows it needs to burn at. If it's cutting tungsten, it'll burn to cut through tungsten. If it's cutting lead, it'll only generate enough heat to cut the lead. Same with steel.
It is fun, dude.
It's like smart gas.
It's incredible, man. And it's so cool, man. Like they showed on TV or on one of the videos where the guy had the bubbles in his hand and lights, or puts it in a lady's hand and then lights it and it explodes. But you could do that for real, man. It implodes. It doesn't hurt your hand at all.
When you're welding with it with a hot tip of a gas welder, normally they get so hot you can't touch them. With HHO, you can cut steel, and the tip never goes above 212. Think of it.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Melt your tips. With the other gases, you melt your tips sometimes. With HHO, you can't melt your tip.
Would you agree that there's a lot of stuff that they know about that because like you said, it's like a smart gas, and it's like frequency.
And it's not always necessarily your own personal choice, I think. But when you have something that's valuable, like technology and other stuff, energy that you can get ahead with while others pay for it, if you will, then how much of that do you really want to share? A lot of the people that are into the so-called free energy, let's face it, I've seen out of 199 are scams. You really have to go through 1,000 to
Yeah,
find,
they might be, man. They might be, but like I said, if I got this generator running off that, and then I mean theoretically, if I had a few of them tanks to produce more of the energy, and if I can run them each off 5 volts, and I run it off my DC output, then that's 4 free plugs, right?
Run off pine straw gas. If you put pine straw in 45-gallon drums, pack them, ignite them, and then just use the smoke that's coming out, you can drive down the road.
Right, and that's just it. It's not free. They're saying no, that breaks the laws. Look, you're breaking down the water. It's not free energy. It costs you water, and it costs you freaking salts and whatever catalyst you use. So it's not free. And that's what they were saying. That breaks the laws of physics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. And I'm like, dude, look, you're getting it from the water. So who's to say that water on a molecular level doesn't have more power in it than gasoline? Initially, yeah, maybe not. Maybe gasoline on the outside, you light it and you think it's got so much more power, but once you break it down per gallon for gallon, I think the water's got way more energy than gasoline. That's my personal opinion, and I don't think that's information that's ready for They do show some scams, but I guarantee you, for every 100 scams they show, they hide one legitimate one. That's my guess on that.
They still have a big focus on making fossil fuels and methane gas and other, below the earth surface products are staple for almost everything, right?
Yeah, that's a scam in itself. They just found one of them trinkets, and they're saying it's like 3 million years old, one of the oldest. And they found it inside a layer of coal, and that's how they're dating it, because they're saying it was in the coal and in the middle of the layer, like a 20-foot layer. So it had to be, and that layer was 3 million years old. Man, that man, the way they deceive people with they can make coal in like 2 weeks, man, with just a little bit of moisture, some wood, and pressure, a little bit of heat.
Petrification and stuff happens in months and few years, not millions of years or thousands of years. Another one of the myths that they still promote.
Biggest scam around.
The whole thing is a lie. It's hard to separate anything that isn't a lie from even some of our so-called like geology. I mean, what I know now means that stratified rock ain't no stratified rock for the most part. Most of what we see is parts of petrified beings.
I agree, man. And once you realize that, it gets your mind. It's so fun when you wake up. When you wake up to these things, and then you start putting 2 and 2 together. So every subject, you're like, hey, you know what? Since that ain't true, that means this and that. It's an open door of possibilities. But most of all, it's an open door to see right through the bullshit. And
here's another bullshit, defining mass and stuff, and the confusion that's always thrown in mass and weight. Well, according to science, if you want to lose weight, go to the moon. Your mass stays the same, but in 1/6 gravity or a different gravitational pull, your weight is less. But you don't lose mass because you go to the moon. When you come back to, quote, Earth, you're going to have the same mass as when you left. And your weight will
in other words,
So mass and
in
weight
other words, we don't need that equation. I agree. We don't need that equation.
Scream, oh, we can't define mass. Define mass. Well, the only mass I'm concerned about is what we call the atomic mass units. They work for doing chemical reactions, manufacturing, processing stuff, everything. It works. It's good enough for me. So I don't use, quote, mass, which is ambiguous. It truly is. I use atomic mass units, which very standard.
And that's the proper way to do it. And they confuse the two, right? So in other words, the supposedly Newton's supposed law with the F, force Fg equals m1 times m2 over r squared, which is distance squared. In other words, that doesn't even matter on Earth. We don't even need that equation. And they say he came up with that, but it wasn't actually used until the Cavendish experiment. And that was 1798. So Coulomb's law, which is basically the same thing, but with charges, is the same inverse square law. And it was came up with like 16, or I think it's 11 years before that. They say Newton developed his first. Well, yeah, it wasn't demonstrated until after Coulomb's law. But yeah, so in other words, if we're here on Earth, all we need is weight. We don't need all that mass and all that bullshit.
In the sciences, most of them don't never use any calculation for gravity. There's no electrical system that when you're designing circuitry, you say, oh, well, we got to account for gravity because it's going to pull the electrons down as they're trying to flow through the circuit. Do we have to mount this PC board vertically to account for gravity to let these things drain properly with less resistance? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they say, and when we're building stuff like building bridges and all these, that we account for gravity. That's such a crock of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the specs for this material, they figure a downward force, assuming that it's already lifted up in the air. But that has nothing to do with that has nothing to do with big G and weighing different on different planets. That's just the rate the shit falls.
Around. You know what the screw around is? The word density. We don't look at density. We look at the mass per unit volume. If you keep that clear, density goes away. There's so very few instances you need to calculate density that you can calculate it as mass over volume anyway. You don't really need it, even for cork. Cork, you get a pallet full of it, it weighs nothing. If you compress all the air out of it and make tiny compressed cubes and load up a pallet, it's going to have a higher mass per unit volume. Same with styrofoam. You load a pallet with styrofoam, it's big, it's voluminous, and it weighs what it weighs, or it has a mass of what it has. Squeeze all the air out. It'll have less volume, but the same mass. So density is a word that is very rarely applied because it should only apply to things like styrofoam, like cork, like marble, and other things that might have air pockets or other stuff that are inconsistent in their volumic mass.
It explains things the same way though. Like if you take it's relative density, they call specific gravity.
Take away
but that
explains.
Listen, hold on. Let me say this. It explains it all because man, you could have a ton of wood, okay, and say that wood is lighter than water, okay. You could have a ton of it, okay, but it's going to float all the same on that water if the water is lighter, and you could pack it and make it sink. Exactly.
It's
you
the
could condense
ratio.
it.
It's only about the ratio of the volume to the mass. If one exceeds the other, it floats or sinks.
Well said, bro. Very, very well said. I like that.
Yeah,
and there's
I
no
agree,
such
man.
thing as relative density. It makes it sound smart, like Einstein's fucking saying it with his fucking.
No, man, I agree 100%.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of mass. Fuck that. Don't get rid of relative density. Get rid of fucking mass, dude. They hijack fucking density with mass.
No,
and they can't even fucking describe it. Sorry.
Comparing ratios and stuff. Look, everyone says, oh, E equals mc squared. Well, that's a lot of fun. What's the value in units of your E? Is it electron volt?
Why would you say get rid of density, dude? When density is described, that's the only thing. That's the only thing we can see. That's the only thing we can prove.
We calculate the volume.
You say you'd rather have mass than density, bro?
Hold on, Brian.
Volumetric mass. That word, volumetric mass. Volumetrics.
Hold on, just real quick, Brian. Were you asking him a serious question?
Yeah, I wanted to see if he is serious about saying that we don't need density. He thinks mass is.
Hold on. I understand that, but you asked him a question. He started to answer it, and then you went off on a tirade. So just that's why I wanted to know if you were wanting an answer. So he's trying to answer your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're always looking at the ratio, the formula and the ratio for what is ill referred to as density, which is, you know, your volumetric mass to weight ratio, volume to weight or volume to mass. That's what you're looking at. Nothing relative to density.
Yeah, I know, but man,
motions pushing here and there. It's nothing to do with
right,
that.
but F equals MA. It doesn't matter. You can use weight just the same, just by rearranging equation.
You're roboting, Brian. You're roboting really bad.
My bad. Hopefully it's better out here. But I was saying all you got to do is rearrange the equation for F equals MA and use weight instead of mass. And that shows that the density is everything to me. Unless you go to the moon, then you have to rearrange it.
But it is not done.
Well, the only way you couldn't do it is if you were on the moon and you were 1/6 gravity. So in other words, if we didn't go to the moon, then we don't need that dumbass equation.
We do need volumetrics. So much can fit in a truck for the amount of weight the tires can thing. So if you're loading up lead, it might only fill 1/8 of the truck, and it might be a capacity.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how much we have. It doesn't matter how much helium you have. It's always going to float unless we compress it. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with the wood. No matter how much you have. So the volume is arbitrary. The volume is arbitrary just like it is in real life.
Why is it?
Oh, yeah, it is, bro.
Volume.
Because they have to account for what would happen on the moon, dude. Like I said, it would just be
we have
weight.
to account for putting water, wood in water, or rock in water. I'm not on the moon.
So you say we need gravity?
To remove some water, Brian.
I'm not on the moon.
I'm going to jump in just real quick. I think that we can have a really, really good conversation. Please don't overtalk each other.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. I just think that acceleration is not what something is. They say gravity is like acceleration, and the way they describe it, I think acceleration is what something does. It's not what something is. It's what something does, and they misdescribe it right out of the gate.
Well, with Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson and his microphone hissy fit, the only reason the mic dropped is because he let it go. He gave it all the energy it needed to fall to the floor. In fact, the microphone was thinking, no!
Agreed. He doesn't mention the part where he picks it up, though.
Yeah, so when we lift something up, we're giving it potential energy, right? So we lift something up, we give it, or if we take something underwater that floats, we're giving it potential energy. The same thing is like when we're squishing a spring. You know, if we squish a spring, we're giving it potential energy. If we blow up a balloon or give a tank pressure, we're giving it potential energy. Same thing as up and down.
Here's
We start.
That people want to attribute always to gravity making things fall. I go in a shop, I pick up a vase, and it slips from my hand. Well, I don't want to pay for it. Gravity made it fall to the ground. See, I could have let it go, and unless gravity was the persona that it is and the mean bugger that he is, it would have floated in midair until I put my hands back on it and returned it to the shelf. You see, try going to court and say, well, I dropped it, but gravity is responsible.
That's why it's relative, bro. That's why it's relative. Because if you pick up that piece of wood and you drop it, okay, and it falls there, attribute that to gravity. But if you're in water and you grab it, okay, and then it's going to go up. In other words, it's going to find its equilibrium. Everything is about equilibrium. And I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, that's again the density.
Let me say this real quick. This is why I say everything is about equilibrium. See, they don't. When they did the GFG, they took away the negative, right? They took away the negative out of the Coulomb's law. Is basically all they did, and so they make it where everything is positive. In other words, you can't have negative pressure, you can't have negative temperature. But to me, everything is about positive and negative, man. So in other words, whatever temperature. Hold it. Let me explain. Whatever temperature we have outside is equilibrium. And then if you go hotter than that, then you are plus temperature. If you go colder than that, you're under. Same thing with pressure. Whatever pressure it is outside, anything above that is positive pressure. Anything underneath it is negative pressures.
Yes.
And here's my proof. And my proof is everything acts on equilibrium because you could never reach absolute zero. Okay, and you can never reach an absolute high temperature. Same thing with pressure. You could never achieve a perfect vacuum. It's impossible even mathematically. And you could never achieve absolute total pressure. So all we're left with is what's in between, and that is equilibrium. So it's got to, everything has to depend on equilibrium. And they fail to, they've pretty much, to me, use just bullshit to explain their way around it.
Yeah, there's a difference between thermal equilibrium and just static. You see, you put a log in the water, it'll float, and if there's no currents or nothing, it stops. It stays pretty stationary, right? But when it involves
that doesn't address my point, though.
That's another type of thing. And combining the two and saying, look, it's all screwed up, it seems to be what's happening.
My point is they say that, like I said, even the same thing with up and down. So if equilibrium is right here on this ground, okay, then anything above the ground is positive altitude. Anything below it is negative altitude. You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, a rock can be at 1,000 feet above sea level or at 500.
Right, that's why it's relative. Same thing with density. Like say if water is equilibrium or air, say if air is equilibrium, then anything denser than air is positive density. Anything lighter than air is negative density. And I think we could get the math right.
These energies above ground without gravity for a long time, and we called them foot-pounds. If you raise 1 pound 10 feet in the air, it has 10 foot-pounds of potential energy. If you raise
we don't need. You're right, exactly. We don't need G.
100 feet in the air is the same as 2 bags of potatoes. That much potential exists in it.
Let me say one more thing, and then I'll give it to you, John. One more thing. The point is like if we take the air. Okay, here's an example of that. If they say we can weigh air. Okay, first off, we have to trap it inside of something. We can weigh like we did in school back in middle school. We took a balloon, we weighed it, and it was like 1.3 grams, and then we filled it with air, and it weighed like 1.5 grams or something like that. But here's the thing: what if we would have used hot air? If we would have used hot air, then it would have shrunk in weight. It's all about equilibrium, and they fail to give us the details. As adults, we can double check all this shit and see things don't fall at the same rate, and air does not weigh nothing. There's nothing. Air is the equilibrium. It doesn't weigh nothing, man. They're crazy. Go ahead, John.
Okay, thank you. It's also about electromagnetic fields. They are forgotten that. It can play a role in all of this. Directions and everything. Object falling and everything. Acceleration. The electromagnetic can be handled. So, and density, buoyancy. All things working together. And electromagnetic is inside out of everything. You know that is around us.
Here's a problem for gravity. You take a balloon with just ordinary air in it, rub it on some hair for a few seconds, and stick it to the wall for a day. A balloon weighs about 7 grams, one of the round ones or so. Now here's, 7 grams. It's defying gravity because it goes on vacation, sticks to the wall, and, until a certain amount of balance is reestablished, it will stay stuck to the wall.
It's static.
I agree, man.
It's attached. Now here's a lot of weight defying gravity from just a little bit of static charge. So here we're seeing that even a little bit of static charge is already more powerful than so-called gravity.
Yeah, and it's all right in front of our face, man. It's all right in front of our face. Like what you're saying, I love it. Because look at, if you scale the solar system, okay, they say that the sun's gravity is reaching out. But they say the sun's gravity, the force, is like a billionth the force of magnetism, of electromagnetism, right? But if you do a scale model of the sun and the solar system, then if you had a Earth the size of like a basketball, then the sun would have to be like from Florida all the way up to like Baltimore, where Travis is at, or maybe even further. So if you're saying that it's so weak, but you show me an electromagnet that's supposed to be billions times stronger, but show me that react on something the size of a basketball in Maryland from Florida. They contradict. All it takes is a little. You got to break the spell first, and then just look and scratch the surface. It's so obvious. Common sense shows you glaring problems in their model. I know they got great explanations, but if you really think about it, it's a load of bullshit stacked on top of other bullshit, man, that is so easy to see through. You know, but it's, you know, they got a good system, but I think we can get it better. They probably already have, but I think we could do it independent of them, you know, personally, if we put our heads together.
Double think, it gets easier. You get rid of the double thing. Straight
Yeah,
lines
don't they say it? Yeah.
curved lines are. You know,
Yes.
let's keep it straight. And anything else.
Is Gleem still
every
here?
answer, if you ask them that
Yeah,
something
man.
they can answer, they say gravity for everything. But
Gleem,
there's
how
no
much stronger?
scientific
Oh, sorry, John.
method for it.
Gleem, how much stronger is electromagnetism than gravity supposedly? Ain't it like in the billions or millions or billions?
1
Yeah,
sextillion.
60. See, it's even crazier than I thought.
Sextillion
Billions
is
of times.
But doesn't that make sense? That
yeah. Well, a fridge magnet basically overcomes the whole of Earth's gravity. The whole of Earth.
So does a French
literally the
kiss.
whole, all of it.
How come everything is scalable? Everything is scalable except their gravity and their freaking and their pressure. Everything else in this world is scalable one way or another, but not their shit.
Well, it only works in the domain it was designed in. So it only, so to say, works in the solar system. It doesn't work in outside the solar system. Doesn't work in the small scale.
La la land. That's so funny. Gleem, how big do you think? How far away do you think our closest galaxy is? Gleem.
Yeah, that's difficult because we're in one, aren't we? In the globe model, we're in one. In flat Earth model, it would have to be within 100,000 miles.
That's fair, and that is
I would
still
assume.
so far away. It's a miracle we could even see it. I'd say the galaxies. You know, if they got what the sun is made out of wrong, then they got everything wrong. We have to start over. And we know that hydrogen, no gas on Earth can even all put together, they cannot emit continuous spectrum. So we know that for sure. And I've never heard anybody disprove that. The claim that guy made who supposedly crunched the laws of physics and supposedly broke them or whatever, or had to update them with his upgrade to the MRI thing that saved thousands of lives. I think his name is some French name, but I'll try and find it before I leave. But so he said that we have to start from scratch and figure everything out from scratch to see what else we're getting wrong.
Well,
Because
the
if they
galaxies
said,
they claim to show us pictures of and stuff, they're images that they actually say are electromagnetic data that are made into these pictures, i.e. CGI. But
yeah, man, I don't, but the fact they see stuff, I do believe, I'm not like sticking my head in the sand saying, hey, that astronomers ain't seeing cool shit up there and all these things. And I'm not saying, but I'm saying that they need to start back from scratch. Like our generation, my son and my grandchildren, they got work to do, man. And everybody, they got work to do because they got to figure this stuff out. And whatever, I think they probably already know a lot of this stuff. Maybe they don't, but they got to start from the ground up, man, and figure out. And but maybe we weren't meant to know exactly the heavens. Maybe that's God's stop sign and all that. But we can learn a lot more and give them a lot to do. It seems like they take all the geniuses and just further indoctrinate them and just throw them out in space. Instead of practical practical physics. They put them in all the geniuses in theoretical physics and shit, man, and further indoctrinate them. And I don't know.
I mean, the core, so to say, when Erebus says, give me one solid evidence of flat Earth, you could easily say that the galaxy rotation curve problem is the evidence of a flat Earth, because that is a scaling issue of gravity. It's basically they've said this thing exists. They've tested it at the long scale, large distances. They've tested it at a small scale, and it doesn't work like they thought it did. Drastically doesn't work. You can't just tweak it and it will work again. It is literally a complete redesign.
That guy is so stupid, dude. You try and debate him, and you'll be arguing up from down. He'll never tell you what he's debating. He'll never get to a point, and he's a trickster, like you said. And I mean, he might not be as stupid as I'm imagining, but just talk to him, and he's just like he's stubborn, man. You no matter what you tell him, he will say, there once again, there is no evidence for a flat earth. Like I'm with you, Gleem. Like, hey, maybe there is some kind of crazy curvature. That doesn't take away from the fact that shit, it probably ain't. You know, if I had to put my money on it, I would bet that it's flat. You know, for the most part. But and light is the thing that's bending. But either still, it's a great debate. You know, and my money's on it that it's flat, but I wouldn't bet my life. But I'll say this: he acts like there's no evidence at all for it. Then why are you debating it, dude? And why are we getting these great debates? And
for years as well. It's not just weeks, is it? He's been in it for years, and I don't know. I think he's scared that he's actually found something, because when I first spoke to him on Sean G's show, it was actually first time I met Travis, and him and Travis had some beef, and he actually at that time was saying perspective can never hide, or perspective or refraction could never hide stuff bottom up. And now about a year later, we're talking, and it's no. He's shown videos of refraction hiding stuff bottom up and perspective hiding stuff bottom up. But
they've had to change their entire. They've had to change their entire argument. But here's what I say, Gleem, and tell me if I'm right on this. Like everybody who is in the echo chambers, no offense to the echo chambers, I like what they do and I like videos, but the one like us, we're the ones who like to go out and debate, and there's a certain type of person that we like to debate. So in other words, whether I want to admit it or not, there's got to be a piece of me that still considers the globe, right? Same thing with the Globers, the ones that go in their echo chambers like Sci-Fi Dan and Bob the Science Guy never enter the debates. Them are the people that are just surefire that it is a globe.
You know,
but the ones who debate it,
an issue of
hold on, I'm almost done. The ones who debate it are the ones with a little sliver in the back of their mind that maybe it's flat. Whether they want to admit it or not, if they are in the debate, then they reserve a piece of their brain that whether they want to admit it or not. And same thing with flat earth. There's still a little piece of us that reserve the fact that it may be round, but what do you think on that?
That's science.
Well, no, sometimes too, it's not as much about what is supposed to be, but what isn't. You know, I look at it this way, and I've said it a few times. The cupola on the so-called ISS has a view and many photographs of, quote, the Earth and the curved edge and Italy and all this stuff. Go to any ISS cupola photograph and compare it to that same view on Google Earth. That so-called ISS is over 3,000 miles up for that view and not 300.
Dude, you sound just like Lale. Without the noise buffer. No offense, but Lale is fun. You sound just like him, dude. But you don't speak like him, though. I'll say that.
But like I was saying, any view of a photo from the so-called cupola is a green screen cartoon. The view that they show is truly from over 3,000, 3,200 miles up. They claim that they're between 240 and 300 and some miles up. Why that 10 times difference in the photos? They have a magic camera that has a focal point thousands of miles behind them.
They don't think that withholding information is deception. Like I had a problem with the fact that when I first found out that them pictures were were wide angle lenses or fisheye lenses. That bothered me right off the bat. I'm like, man, they've showed me all this, whether the Earth is a globe or not. They showed me all these wide angle lens pictures that are most certainly not Earth curve, and had me thinking my entire life that it was Earth curve because I never really thought to even question it. To me, that is deception, man.
Seeing a scuba diver in space, a scuba diver? Really? That was a big turning point for me. It really was.
Yeah, and I don't blame. Go ahead.
On your cupola one though, that's wrong, because the cupola is actually a fisheye itself. The actual glass within it.
Glass. It's got flat glass planes in it. Look in any of the photos. They got flat glass, truck glass.
No, hang on. Sorry, if you go on Vsauce done a video on it, and there's a replica of it, and he literally says it's set out to be a GoPro, so that you fit the whole of Earth, the both horizons in.
Sorry, it would have to fit into the optical view of the lens, and it does not at 340 miles.
No, I'm trying to explain. You're
not explaining nothing. Yeah, it's not working.
No, hang on. You haven't let me explain it yet. ISS only sees 3% of Earth, so it doesn't even see a 50% of the side of Earth. What that is literally the cupola's glass specifically made to make it look as if it is actually a fisheye lens. So it's
total bullshit on this freaking.
No. He's right. Listen, man. It's the same thing. Listen.
3,000 miles view from 300 miles
guys,
up.
Listen,
Sorry.
Hold on. Okay. Take it slow. Listen to what each other is saying and take turns with this.
Yeah, listen, Jimbo. It's the same. It's Gleem is right. It's the same thing as if they take a picture out. If you take a picture of your flat kitchen counter, right, and you compress it into a 360-degree lens, you will show curvature. Same thing is way off in the distance. The farther you get, even with minimal barrel distortion, you're just looking out further and seeing a tiny piece of the circle of vision in that lens. So that's what they're doing. It's the same thing as compressing something out in the distance that's a straight line. It's the same thing. It's a vision of a circle of sight, basically. He's right.
Well, I understand that. Like when you go up in a hot air balloon, you see a bowl shape below you, and it looks actually farther down below you than it actually is, apparently.
So the further out you see, the less of the circle of sight that you're seeing. In other words, if you're up close to something, that kitchen countertop is about
different from an arcing, bending, curving way type of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. But like I said, off in the distance and everything, that's what it's comparable to, man. It's comparable to that. And could you even make something flat?
A soup bowl. Like
could you even make an image flat in like with a wide angle lens, something that is curving? Could you even make it flat? It seems like to me it would have to be curving.
Most software with fisheye lenses to compensate and try to flatten it for you. Yes.
But that may mean it's already flat, and yeah, they're flattening out what we should see. But what I'm saying is, if it was curved, and we take a regular lens, the barrel distortion, if the Earth is curving the way they say it is, and we use a fisheye lens, could we even straighten that out? That's my question. To me, I don't think it.
Here the problem is that you're taking a picture of a whole forest when your camera can only get a tulip and a little bush in the lens frame and onto your capture device.
What do you think, Gleem? Do you think they could take a curved line and make it appear straight? Could they even do that? It's possible.
Yeah, obviously you can manipulate images no matter what, but mine was more to do with if you got a beach ball in front of you and you moved your nose towards it, you would see less and less of the sphere, the whole sphere. That's more my point of view, where we're so close in the ISS. They are so close, they can't see the whole side of Earth. They can only see 3%. I've dropped
so let me now back up to what Jimbo said earlier, and he said that if you then look at the same scale from Google Earth, you're at 3,000 miles. Right, Jimbo?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Right,
because
so-
you're trying to match the width of Earth, though. It's not the actual focal length.
Okay.
You can't put the focal length 2,000, 3,000 miles behind you with the camera. I'm sorry, it's impossible.
Yeah, no. What I'm more. If you look at that video in the chat that I just posted in the private chat there, I've timestamped it at the exact same bit, and it shows you how small the ISS sees of Earth. It doesn't see a whole side of it.
The claim of what it sees.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's obviously Vsauce.
You are talking like ISS is real.
Oh my God, that looks so real. I'm just falling off my chair.
Gleem, why are you talking like that?
Let me regain my composure.
How do you know it's not real?
Hey, just real quick, is there any way for you guys to present that for the audience?
Can you do a screen present? Yeah, I can. Here we go. Screen sharing.
This is the type of stuff. How can I prove it's not real? I don't get into. It's a joke. That's just a reversal of the preponderance of evidence. That's
can you see that?
Your part. Is it real? Prove it's not. No.
No, I'm just saying.
You prove it is real.
No, it's the same. It's the same excuse that the globers use for why the continent sizes are different sizes in both blue marbles, because one is closer to the other, and then you get a focal. It's called perspective distortion. That is the absolute thing. It was previously thought of as lens distortion, but it isn't.
Now it's refraction in space. I'm hallelujah. I'm all with the globers.
Why can't
focal length.
Never turn 360 the camera around?
Do you not understand the concept that if you have a beach ball and I zoom right into it, put the lens right close to the beach ball, I'm not going to see the edges of the beach ball if I stood that I would see if I stood back. As soon as you're zooming into it, you're restricting your side, the actual width of what you can see, and all that cupola window does is make it look as if that's the edge of Earth. But it's isn't.
Not the real.
It's just a horizon line. If those were all flat windows and it was just one flat window, and you look to the right, you wouldn't be able to see the horizon line until it's right on the distance. Same with the left. You wouldn't be able to see it dead ahead. And that's why they shape the glass like that.
The problem is the view is 3,200 miles up, and their so-called reality is under 300. End of story. No bullshit about what the shape of the windows.
Well, if you match
that bullshit, go to hell.
I mean, I'm not here to defend that, but that's how they explain it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I understand. I just I'll be cool.
One check. Can you guys hear me? I've lost my audio.
I can hear you, Travis. I can hear you. Check.
I can hear you.
Yeah, you're the only one. I heard you, John, but then I haven't heard anybody else, so I don't. Can you hear anybody, John?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear everyone.
Okay. Sound is good here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm thinking about why can they never show us 360 camera shot from space? Because it's not real. It's fantasy. There may be in drones or something. Sometimes the CPI something. I don't know, but it's not real that they are up there and falling around in orbit.
Yeah. Just one other thing about the cupola, the so-called Netherlands astronaut Andres Kuipers. There are two photos of him in the cupola. One there over Italy, and the same one with the graphic background chopped in is some part of the coast of Africa. But it's the same image of him with both Africa and Italy spliced in via green screen. So that's how real cupola scenes are. No matter what the glass is made of, it's green screen.
No, I agree with you. I can't prove that that's it, but that's what they say it is. And put it this way, that perspective issue, that same perspective issue,
can hide stuff bottom up on the surface of Earth. So I believe that perspective issue exists, and they're right to basically say, yeah, our different continent sizes is due to our different focal lengths and different distances.
It's due to different artists and different fakery.
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully understand that will be 100% your belief there. And
Not
I fully...
belief. I have good experience in CGI and graphics and a lot of things, my friend. No, it's not a belief. They are bullshitting. And you saying it's a belief is bullshit from your part.
Well, you can say that, but I personally believe you can't know anything.
I can and I will that.
You can. I mean, I've got full CGI experience myself, and I fully know that they do use CGI. They fully admit it. However, I mean, I could never say to you, I know something with absolute certainty. So that's just a difference of belief.
I know that most of their stuff, at least from the cupola, is CGI bullshit.
Yeah, I could never tell you that because I have not got absolute certainty that I could put on the table.
And I will tell you that with absolute certainty, it's bullshit.
Okay, so why don't we try to unpack that? Gleem, if I were you, I would ask him, okay, so Jimbo, what is it that you know that you can then take us down that?
I know that NASA images published of Andres Kuiper, the Netherlands guy, the same image of him with the wavy smile and in his suit is used twice, one depicting Italy and then boot below from a perspective view of 3,200 miles, and another view of Africa with the same photo of him and the cupola with the other background spliced in. So you have the same guy waving from over Africa and from over Italy. They're either both real or both fake, or one real and one fake, or they're all full of shit.
They can both be fake. They can definitely both be fake. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying personally.
Yeah, they are fake. Yeah, they both are fake.
Yeah, I mean, they employ the likes of Tim Pyle, who's ex-SpongeBob SquarePants, so I fully know that they do CGI, but there is no way that I could literally say to you, I guarantee you...
CGI, we had photo retouching. You actually use chemical darkeners and toners to blot out or change things and shadows and other stuff on photographs. It was called photo retouching, and it was done very manually. You went right on the negative and you painted on it.
Understood.
That's how a lot of it was done before CGI.
Yeah, straight away. An overlaying, OHP in. Yeah, definitely.
I have a question.
Definitely, but I can't say that I would definitely know that that's
some more
belief,
claims.
My belief.
When they were on, I guess it's Apollo, I don't know, 14, whatever number they want to claim, they claim they were using Ektachrome. I've developed Ektachrome film. It's reversal color photography film. Okay? It has to be developed twice. It's extremely sensitive to temperature. There's a gelatin on it that's made from gelatin. It melts at about 106 degrees. It has problems with radiation. All silver-based and stuff, photographic material, silver halides that are photosensitive, have problems with radiation. They smoke up, they get some fog, other stuff. Now, they claim that they went and took all these nice photos with Ektachrome film from Kodak. Now, this film is so sensitive that there's even a different process when you're developing in Jamaica or the tropics because of the extra humidity and temperature. Because even developing this film into the, slides that they used to make out of them for the slide projectors, even that, you can't do the same way as you would in the United States or Canada as you do in a really humid, hot place. So this was one of the most sensitive films. It took what they call a double exposure. After you, when you're in the lab, you bleach it, you develop it, it has to be bleached out, exposed to light a second time, and then re-bleached out to become a positive. There are two development processes. The second time you develop the negative, it becomes a positive. It'll work with an ordinary negative too. If you develop an ordinary negative, black and white, and then develop it the first time, stop the development, expose it to light again, your second exposure, when it's developed again, will give you a positive image. Two negatives make a positive. They tell us that in mathematics. It works with film. What can you do? The ectochrome, there's no way they brought it to the moon. Put it in a Hasselblad camera with no viewfinder and got treasure moments, perfect focus, perfect frame.
Now you're talking my language, bro. The Hasselblad on the moon.
With no viewfinder.
Not only
I
that.
guess it's 20 feet away. Let me set it to 20 feet and click. Oh, what a perfect photo.
It's not only that. It's how did the gears advance? How was what lubricant did they use?
Put on a pair of welding gloves and
go ahead
and try to operate a camera.
Forget about that. Forget about, we know that gloves and that the pressure. The camera itself, how could it operate in the conditions of the moon? That's the issue.
How? I don't know that they. Well, it's speculative, but they didn't go there. But they can't. The moon is a light, as far as I'm concerned. You know, you can't move in orbit billions of tons of a rock. It never even revolves or rotates, really. We only see one face of the moon forever, which kind of
yeah. That's pure speculation. We're playing in their game, of course.
Yeah, I don't. I look at a possibility that the moon is more like what, and just a possibility. I'm not saying it is. I never try to say it is, but there's a thing called a Chinese magic mirror, and when you shine a light on it, it can reflect anything that's in its substrata, which could be a moon or the horoscope, well, whatever you want, a picture of someone. It'll project it onto the wall. It looks 3D. If on a Chinese magic mirror you had a impression of the moon, all its craters and everything they call them, it would reflect the light onto the wall that would look exactly like the moon, with 3D, with craters, with darkness, shadow.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Because I often think about this in terms of which came first, right? So it seems to me that some of this discussion happens after we have developed a technology. So say, for instance, what you just described there, what did you call it, a Chinese mirror?
The Chinese magic mirror.
Okay, so we develop a Chinese magic mirror, and we see what it can do. Because we can see that phenomenon based on something that we created, we can then back engineer an idea into some other phenomenon that we have not yet previously had an explanation for. Okay, so that's one way. The other way is, in my opinion, they've always known what the sun and the moon are, and then they were
aren't,
but then they are able to then create a way to manufacture and represent that phenomenon, but they don't connect the dots for you. They don't tell you where they got the idea from.
There is a Japanese company that for a birthday or a party, they can project into the sky stars for your party. You can watch them, special stars from your backyard. I think they charge about $9,000 a star. It hits a sodium layer or some sodium in a layer above us, and it's a business.
Right. So my position would be they were able to do that because of their ability to understand what's going on up in the sky with sonoluminescence.
Yeah, and if you think of it, like something like, quote, the moon. What moves easier, a light on the wall like a laser playing with a cat, or something on the end of a string and a nylon and a ball and playing with the cat that way? One knocks around and it's problematic, right, for consistency. The light doesn't necessarily have to be light. Like if the moon was just a light, it explains why it's so easy to move. It's just a light.
Okay, guys. Hey, I think I'm going to wrap this up because Ranty's going to be going live in 15 minutes, and just want to kind of give that enough time to shut this down and have people do whatever they need to do. But I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. I'd love to be able to keep doing this. I think I wish I would have. I just didn't know this about Streamlabs. Otherwise, I would have been doing this a long time ago while I'm driving. But definitely going to keep trying to do this Monday through Friday. See what happens with it. As we wrap up, Gleem, Jimbo, Essie, and John, if you guys want to close out with anything, go ahead, Essie.
Yeah, good show, Travis. Do more of it for sure. Nice talking with Jimbo. He knows a lot of stuff. So Gleem, everybody, Brian. Yeah, it was good.
All right, John. Go ahead, John. All right, Gleem.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Salute. Thank you very much, my man. Have a good one. And I'll probably see you over at Ranty's in a couple of seconds.
Sure. I'm going to try to catch up with you on Discord. I've got
Definitely do. Yeah,
okay,
I see that.
Yeah, all right.
Yep.
And
nice
Jimbo, the man of the hour. Thanks for being part of the show today, man.
Well, it was great. It's nice when things don't descend into a troll fest and all these kind of nonsense that, we're part of the past, We need more dialogue like this where people actually exchange ideas and stuff and not just talk over each other. So it's a developed skill, but it's getting there.
Yeah,
sites like this will help it. Enjoy. Been a pleasure.
All right, and thanks to Brian Leakey, and let's see, Cleary wasn't able to get his joining the panel lined up, but thanks everybody out there in the chat. I appreciate you guys being part of this show, and this has been another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley. Till next time.
See you around the show.